Hey, y'all. This is your girl, Erica, from the Dope Discussions with Erica podcast. Before we get into today's show, I just want to ask you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell so you can meet us back here every Sunday at 6:30 Central Standard Time, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time for all of our dope discussions. You don't want to miss them, do you? So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell so you can meet us here and maybe even beat us here.
Dope Discussions Podcast. Dope discussions, gay to Erica, woke discussions. Mob ties, how they rock and think they both was cousins. Gifting you with their words so you might know you something. Just go and look for them live, they do it every Sunday. Every Sunday.
And we gon' bring you that dope. And we gon' bring you that dope. It's gay to beat it, baby. Main state to state, baby, coast to coast. Like the vibe, baby, spark the joke. And we gon' bring you that dope. So talk with Erica, man, talk with G. And all you gotta do is talk with me. And we gon' bring you that dope. And we gon' bring you that dope. And we gon' bring you that dope. And we gon' bring you that dope.
Go ahead. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another Dope Discussion Sunday with your girl, Erica, and your boy.
Gator Beater, baby. What's going on, everybody out there in the virtual congregation? It's me, your number one male panderer here. You know what?
Stop.
I will say that I love all the people who tune in to us every week, man. It is amazing. You get some people that tune in and they just coming in to just spit the vitriol, you know, but that's why we're here. We're here to spread the love, you know, so hey, look, if you call me whatever you call me, I'm here to give my opinion. And that's what it is.
It's okay. You can be a panderer and a simp, but you got a woman, though.
You know, hey.
Say. Tell them that.
Strong one, too. Just saying.
Tell them that. You got a woman, though.
And she just is delighted with me. Now, I hope look, I need to bring her on so she can speak for herself. But
yes, we're gonna have to get her on the show. Yes, so thank y'all for tuning in to another Dope Discussion Sunday. I am very excited about today's show. We have a lineup of beautiful, intelligent, resourceful women, and we're going to have a conversation about some of you people's favorite thing to talk about: relationships. Sex,
right.
Love, and money.
Who don't like talking about money?
Yes, but we're going to have a great conversation with these ladies. I am excited. I specifically, reached out to each one of these ladies because I've followed them on social media. I've had conversations with them. I admire, what they do. I admire their messages. I admire, them as people and as women. And so I thought, who better to have this conversation with than to bring these ladies on? We had originally a group of 8. We're down to 5 ladies representing for the group. A couple of the ladies were under the weather, so we send out our prayers and get well wishes to them. But we are ready to rock and roll. And so without further ado, let's bring out our beautiful lineup. First of all, we got Miss Bernadette Jackson. How you doing?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
Good. Thank you
Going
for coming
on.
on with us today. Tell the people
Absolutely.
who you are. Tell them about Bernadette.
I am Bernadette, and I am a relationship engagement strategist, and I am also the CEO of her consulting group. And what I do is I help fatherless daughters to understand how their father loss has affected them so that they're able to show up authentically in both relationships and in business.
I love it. I love it. I've listened to so much of your stuff, especially I first encountered you on Clubhouse through
Mm,
Derek, and I was listening to one of y'all conversations. I was like, she's telling my story. Everything she's saying is me. And
yeah,
so I was so glad to be able to connect with you. So thank you for taking the invitation and joining us tonight.
absolutely.
Yes. So next up, we have Miss Angela Sheree from the Ever Evolving Podcast. How are you?
Yay! I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for
Yay.
having me.
Thank you for being here. So tell our viewers and listeners about who Angela Sheree is.
Of course. So I am Angela Cherie, the host of the Ever Evolving Podcast and founder of Ever Evolving Women. Both of those platforms seeks to have real conversations and to provide safe spaces for especially us, having conversations that we don't have and having conversations that need to be had in order for our healing to take place. The motto is we can't heal what we hide. So let's talk about it.
Yes, I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking the invitation. I think I was on your podcast. Was it last
I
year?
think we collaborated through pod booking and we did a Black
Yes,
creator conversation that was good,
yes,
of course. Yeah.
yes, yes. So I am looking forward to tonight's conversation and thanks for taking the invitation.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Miss Kalisha Patrice.
Hey, hey, hey. Thank you so much, Erica, for inviting me. I am the CCO of Hello Black Man. I'm wearing our earrings and our logo. Follow us on Hello Black Man, all social media platforms. I do a lot. So I don't even know where to start. By profession, I'm a nurse. I be saving lives and stuff.
Yes.
That's during the day. During the night, I'll be marketing and I'll be promoting and I'll be pushing everything that is great, including Dope Discussions podcast. I think you guys are doing a wonderful job and I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you so much for taking the invitation. I'm excited. All right, next up we have Miss Ursula B from Black Girls Getting Their Shit Together.
Let's
Hello,
go. Let's
family.
go.
Hey girl, how you doing?
I'm well and so honored to be amongst all these melanated queens and kings.
Yes. Thank you for taking the invitation. So tell everybody you're not a stranger to our platform, but go ahead and reintroduce yourself.
So, hello, everyone. My name is Ursula. I am the host of Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together. You can always check me out, same platform on YouTube. And I also have an audio podcast under the same name. I'm a transformation life coach. And just like Angela, we have conversations related to our people, but more importantly, my focus is on mental health advocacy, mental health and wellness in our community, because we can relate to each other in a certain way that our counterparts cannot.
Yes. Yes, I love it. So thank you so much for accepting the invitation. I knew you would.
Oh wait, and I'm also a co-host of Talking Dope Shit.
Oh yes, and we're gonna talk about that, and we're definitely gonna talk about our up and coming next episode and topic that we got coming up is gonna be a good one. Yes, and last but certainly not least, we have Miss Altagracia Felix in the house.
Woo. Hey y'all, how are you?
Welcome. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Really excited to be here today among all these beautiful women and the
Yes.
gent.
Yes, and the gentleman. We're not gonna forget
And the
about you,
guy.
Gator.
And the guy.
So tell everybody who you are and what is your platform.
Yes. So I'm Altagracia Felix, and I am an intuitive trauma coach and the owner of Revitalize, Reinvent to Empower, abbreviated as R2E. And I specialize in helping women heal their relationships with themselves after intimate partner abuse through radical responsibility, spirituality, and just really taking ownership of rewriting our stories the way we wanted to. So I'm happy to be here, happy to be a part of this conversation, and happy to be among other women, striving to make change.
Yes, I am so excited and I'm just ready to dive in. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the first question. Wait, before we get into the questions, I had an icebreaker that I wanted to do with y'all. Just something to kind of start it off and kind of have some fun and maybe see if we have anything in common before we get into the, the real heavy stuff. So I have this game and it's called Black Card Revoked. I don't know if any of y'all have ever played it.
Yeah.
All right. So I had a question that I'm going to ask everybody. I'm going to see who can really be my girl and who could just be over there. So here we go. What do you eat on your grits?
Mm.
Do you eat cheese? Do you eat salt and pepper? Do you eat sugar? Or do you eat butter? So we're going to start with Bernadette.
I am a cheese and salt and pepper girl.
Yes. All right, Angela, what do you eat on your grits?
Listen, do not revoke my black card already. But I don't do grits. I'm sorry. I'm not. I can't. I don't.
Y'all like?
No, I think I don't. I think my mama made me eat too much as a child. That
Okay.
I cannot.
Well, I'm with you on that because I don't eat crawfish, and people always trying to kick me out of places. What about you, Kalisha? What do you eat on your grits?
So it depends on my mood. I can go grape jelly. I can go salt and pepper. I can go cheese. I can go syrup.
So it's just all purpose.
All depends on my mood. Like grits are just a go-to, and I can eat whatever on them. It depends on how I'm feeling that day. Do I want something sweet? I'm gonna give me some syrup to put on my grits. If I want something salty, I'm gonna do a little cheese. But when I was in college, I went to Alcorn, the illustrious Alcorn State University. For those of you who have not heard of it, please look it up. They had the best cheese grits in the world. And so, like, if I had to go to something in particular, it would be those cheese grits at Alcorn. So cheese, salt, and pepper is my go-to, but I can do anything on my grits.
Yes.
Wow.
All right, Ursula,
Syrup
what do you put on your grits?
I don't eat grits.
Oh, you don't eat grits either?
I don't even know what a grit is.
What?
I don't eat it. I don't like it. I probably already lost this game because
It's okay. It's okay. You can still be my queen. What about you, Altagracia? What do you eat on your grits?
I am a cheese and sugar. I like using cheese and a little bit of sugar. So a little salty and sweet thing happening all at the same time.
Okay.
That's my thing.
She wants that. She wants all them taste buds popping in different places.
All at once.
Yes. Well, Tashira said your black card is revoked, Ursula. I'm sorry. And Derek too.
Look.
Derek!
So you're gonna have to do something to get back into the black into the black congregation. I'm sorry.
You got to sit in the back. We're gonna put you on the back pew.
John Singletary, what you mean we don't revoke black cards no more? All right, so let's get into our first question. And we're gonna start, from the top and just rotate. So I'm gonna go to Bernadette. Your first example of love and relationships, was it healthy or was it not healthy? And how has your view of love and relationships evolved up until now?
That's a good question. My first example of love and relationships, I would have to say, was my grandparents. When I was growing up, I lived in like our family home, and my family's Jamaican. So like all the family lives in the big house, and that's just how it's always been. So my grandparents, I think, were the first example that I saw of like a married couple. And they were the kind of married couple that was really like kind of ornery to each other. Like you knew that they loved each other, but it was always like, somebody bickering, somebody saying something, okay, B, just calm down, like just regular, just kind of Jamaican culture. So I got the impression that they absolutely loved each other, but I didn't see the kind of love that I saw on TV. And I think that that was really kind of what I was looking to see in relationships.
Mhm.
And I think it just because it kind of fed my imagination and what I imagined that it would be like. However, now I would say that, after I have, just really understood what my trauma has been with my father not being there, how it played a role in the kinds of relationships that I gravitated to, and just being intentional about healing. Now, for me, healthy relationships are a place where I can feel safe, where I can show up as my full self and know that I'm going to be accepted, where I can, show you my wounds and know that I'm not going to be rejected, or that, it's a safe place for me to heal, for me to continue my healing. Also just having a place where we can be communicative, honestly, about what's going on, how we feel, and, the both of us really working together to build a relationship and honor our needs and desires, both collectively and individually. So that's what I'd have to say.
Okay, awesome. I love that. All right. And what about you, Angela? What was your first example of love and relationships? Was it healthy? Was it not healthy? And how has your view of evolved and changed up until now?
So it was definitely toxic. Okay. My parents were married for 25 years, but most of those years were volatile.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of tit for tat. I saw a lot of arguing, fussing, and fighting. And so it was rough because, like you said, that's your first example. And unfortunately, having that as like the blueprint allowed me, or it taught me that that's what love was, even though it was totally and completely wrong. So every relationship that I've pretty much had up until I would say like a few years ago was really toxic because I didn't understand. I mean, that's all I knew. That's all I
Yeah.
knew. My grandparents were married, but as an adult, I never knew of them being married. They were divorced. They were divorced for 30 years and got remarried. So to
Mhm.
me, that was a little off too. So all of my relationships that I saw, they didn't teach me, what love really was. And so, as it pertains to evolution of love, I literally had to reprogram. I literally had to reprogram and define what love really is. What it is, not, based on what I'd seen, but what it really, really is. And that came through therapy, prayer, Jesus. And now I'm able to, be in a healthy situation and not be afraid, because I was really afraid to be myself. I was afraid to make mistakes in relationships because what I saw was when you make a mistake, this is what happens. Somebody may get hit, somebody may get punched, somebody may leave. And so that's what I lived out until I realized, yeah, something ain't right with this. This ain't cool. And it took me actually meeting someone who was healed. And they were like,
Mm.
wait a minute, what is that? What are you doing? Why are you leaving? What's going on? And it really
Wow.
challenged me to define what love really is.
Oh my God, I love that. That hit every point in on me. That was my story. Everything was toxic. I saw my mom be in a physically abusive marriage with my father. Then when he left, I saw her in an abusive relationship with my stepfather. I saw her in a string of what you call situationships. And I was so young, she thought, by me being that young, that I didn't know what was going on. I never paid attention to it until I brought it back to her as an adult and told her about some of the stuff that I remember seeing. And so I basically just repeated her same pattern in my relationship. So I definitely can relate to that. What about you, Kalisha?
I definitely can relate to everything. I think Angela is that who spoke before me. Everything that
Mhm.
she says in regards to toxicity. Also, Tashira says that her first relationship or love was the Cosby Show. This is funny because somebody posted and said, when you hear your voice, when you hear the voice in your head of when you're parenting, what mother do you hear, or do you hear your mother? And it wasn't my mother that I heard, it was Claire Huxtable.
Wow.
Her parenting
Wow.
examples is what I did for my children. I would kind of mimic what she did as a parent to kind of raise the kids that I have now. So that's funny that she said that. But no, my mother and father are still married to this day. God bless their souls.
God
But
bless them.
they are the most toxic couple in my life. Like even right now, I'm like, y'all sure y'all want to stay together? Like I support you guys going y'all. Like this is true story, but they are and they have always been very toxic. And as I have progressed, I got married when I was 17 years old. Shotgun wedding, shotgun marriage. You know, I got pregnant, we got married, and I mimicked my mother. My mother was an aggressor. She was always, you know, always in my dad's face. And I don't want to say my dad was abusive, but my mom started fights. So he kind of in turn, you know, reacted to the way that she acted. And so I can't say I was raised in an abusive relationship. I was raised in a toxic relationship. And that carried over into my marriage. If it wasn't my way, it was no way. Like, no, you're not going to tell me what to do. You're not going to, you know, you're not going to judge me. Whatever I want to do, that's what I'm going to do. So we didn't last. We got divorced when I was around 25 years old. And now, as I have evolved as a person and as I have evolved and realized the things that I did wrong, because I take full accountability of how I was in my past relationship, I now am able to view my current partner and listen to him and understand him, and we're able to communicate. Like we've been together a good little while now, and I can say that we haven't had arguments. We've had discussions. We've been able to talk to one another and respect one another's opinions. So, you know, I tell anybody who gets married young, it lasts sometimes, but if you really don't know and you've really not had a good example, then you can't fully love somebody the way that they need to and deserve to be loved. So I just encourage people to take your time, like get to know people, understand people, because Angela said something that was really great. People always say that you have to go into relationships healed. It's not always the case, because sometimes you don't even know that you're not healed until somebody brings it to your attention. Sometimes somebody has to be like, well, what is it? Because in my current relationship, my guy, he wants to leave. He's like that. He wants to leave. We're just having a discussion. I'm like, if you walk out the door, because that's the toxicity point for me, when you come back, I'm not going to be here. So if you ever get to a point where you're going to walk out and leave and go somewhere, I'm not going to be here when you come back because I don't know what you're doing while you're gone. So let's get to a point of cohesiveness that if you decide you need to go somewhere, that we both can discuss it and we're happy before you leave. So, you know, healing together is a good thing too. So I just want to bring that point to, you know, what do Derek and them say? I'm going to land the plane right there. Right. Sometimes it's okay to heal together.
I love that, Kalisha, really do, because that you're right. Some of your blind spots, you don't see them until somebody else points them out for you. And you can't do that when you're single.
Definitely. And one of the things that really like comes to the forefront when you were speaking just now is the fact that we don't even realize just how we absorb what we see. And how we judge what we see to be the actual factual. This is how things are supposed to go. If you're in an environment where there is a toxic relationship going on, then you know you learn that that's how these people interact, and maybe that's how you should interact. You know, so I mean, I think the most important point about that is start to learn where, if you see some issues with somebody, start to kind of learn where they come from. You know, and why they may be exhibiting some of these particular traits. And also kind of look within. If you grew up around that toxicity and you're thinking that what you're doing is right, step back and look at what you're doing and how that might be affecting the other person that you're dealing with, because you never know. You might be, you know, pushing buttons on them, but they might be pushing some of those own, you know, buttons that you have that you weren't even aware that you had.
I think it's also important to know that at a young age, I knew that I didn't want relationships like I saw my mom have, but I didn't have any other thing to compare it to. So that is exactly what I did. Even though I said consciously, I don't want to be like my mama, I became her anyway because I didn't know nothing else. It was in my subconscious.
Right, exactly. You didn't even realize it was there. It just kind of popped up.
Mm-hmm.
It just popped up.
All
Now,
right,
ladies.
Ursula, what about you? What was your first example of love and relationships, and how has that evolved up until now?
So my first example were my toxic parents,
Yeah.
toxic AF. But I didn't realize that it was toxic. But my body was telling me that it was because it was an instant trigger. So over time, I've learned to just like a trash compactor and just shove it down, 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 down.
Yeah.
And my voice was silenced.
Mm.
Growing up, again, it translated into adulthood, which turned into people pleasing.
Mm.
Yeah, and I never realized it because I am an extrovert. I will run my mouth, but in reality, I wasn't saying anything. It
Mm.
was nothing effective. So of course, I would never act like my mother because she's so passive. But in reality, I was acting just like her. It just
Wow.
looked different. So
Yeah.
how it translated as an adult, again, I was a people pleaser. Definitely an anxious attachment. And when I took that test, it literally was, it just blew my mind
Yeah.
because that's how it looked. And my father was extremely emotionally unavailable.
Mm-hmm.
So guess who I dated?
You
All
was.
emotionally unavailable men. And it's funny. Speaking of Derek, we were inboxing each other, and because I hate Billy, and anybody who's seen his show, that character Billy.
Yeah.
But where I had a light bulb moment. I was always dating a William, so
Mm-hmm.
on paper he looked great. I wasn't physically abused, but I was still having that. They had good jobs. It was everything, but they were still emotionally unavailable.
Yeah.
So the cycle continued, but I stopped it because I looked from within. And just like some of the other ladies said, and Gator, I had to look at the toxic traits that I brought to the table because before it was like them, 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 them. Men, no, I was bringing it to the table as well. So I started
Yeah.
therapy. Oh my God, shift in my mindset, in my soul, in my spirit. So, I'm vibrating so low and didn't know it. I'm at a 4, but now through therapy and still continuously healing and working on myself, my vibration number is higher. So that's what I'm going to attract. So I'm excited about the dating because when I see a 4, and if they're trying to stay at a 4, goodbye. Not for
Bye.
me. I can release them in love and
Yeah.
not for
Yeah.
me.
I love it. I love it. And what about you, Altagracia? What was your first example of love and relationships? Was it healthy or not healthy? And how has your view evolved up until now?
So no, it wasn't healthy. I think I can join a lot of us with saying that it was toxic, and it was my parents. They were married for like 22 years and probably should have divorced 15 years prior.
Wow.
But they stayed together for the children.
Oh, yes.
And what ended up happening, it was really weird because my dad never was physically abusive. He was emotionally and psychologically abusive, but my mom was physically abusive. And so it was like this dynamic of watching them kind of go back and forth and saying, like you said, to myself, I'm never going to end up in a relationship like that. And my very first relationship at 15 was highly abusive, physically abusive. And, I played into it. I was abusive too. I repeated the same exact thing. And I went from abusive relationship to abusive relationship to abusive relationship until I pumped the brakes. And so even though I knew I didn't want to repeat what I saw, right? Because I could recognize the fact that my parents stayed together and how that affected not only me but my other siblings and how we all ended up in abusive relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, every single one of us did. and knowing that staying together isn't going to work. So I left my children's father for that and ended up in another relationship that was still like that and ended up leaving that one. But after leaving that one, I kind of just had it in my mind that I didn't want it anymore. And I was telling myself, well, I'm a good woman and I don't understand why this is happening to me. I cook, I clean, I work, I order, list. And I'm like,
Girl.
okay, but like, why do you keep attracting the same kind of guys? So I
Girl.
had to like step out and look at myself. And that's where the biggest shift happened for me. The moment I was able to look at myself and say, you're the only common denominator in these situations. So therefore, the problem lies within you. What do you need to be doing to change what happens next? And I had to do a lot of inner work. I leaned on spirituality for me and really just listening to my body and listening to my intuition and being guided in that way, and doing whatever I felt I needed to heal and letting go of other people's needs. Like it wasn't about who I was going to be dating. It was about what I needed to do for me to be happy and recognizing that it was their responsibility to make themselves happy. And I couldn't expect them to make me happy. It was like this whole realization that I am an individual and so is whoever's going to come to this table. And so we each need to take care of ourselves so that when we come together, we're creating something that's bigger and stronger, right? And not one in which we're still trying to build the foundation that should have been built before we walked in. So I recognize, what Kalisha was saying with two people needing to be healed. I just want to add on that, which is it has to be two people that want to heal. Like you have to want to heal. And if you're not ready to heal, then you should not be stepping into a relationship with someone if you're not ready to do the work and be called out and recognize that in that moment and say, okay, like let me listen, and change. And so I'm a big communication person. I feel like communication is the center of a healthy relationship. And I love what Kalisha was saying with her and her partner. Like we're not walking away without finishing this conversation and this discussion. And I can walk away because sometimes I need space, but I do communicate that, right? It's right now, I'm not going to respond in alignment with, what I really want. So like, let me step back and get it together and then I'll come back and keep going. So I've definitely changed. I honor myself. And that was the biggest shift that I made.
I love what all of you ladies said, and I agree wholeheartedly. And that was my realization from all of my toxic relationships. I was pointing the finger and I was blaming, and I was not seeing my part in any of it. And once I started to look within and work on myself and saw all of the toxicity that I brought into the relationships, and I had to make a real hard realization with myself. And I had to tell myself, you were not relationship material. What woman wants to hear that? I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to admit that, but I was not relationship material. From the very onset of getting into relationships, I brought all of my childhood voids, my childhood traumas, my abandonment issues, my low self-esteem. And I was looking for a mate to fill all those gaps in my life of things that I didn't have for myself. And so I was attracting people who were also mirroring my trauma, my insecurities, my brokenness. And we were just breaking each other down more and more, I'm trying to fix him. I became like Ursula said, a people pleaser, a fixer. I would find the most damaged, broken bird and try to nurse it back to health, thinking that that was going to get me their undying love and loyalty. And then that would in turn prevent me from being abandoned. I would always have somebody to be there with me. And so it was just a disaster from the onset. And just taking the time to actually look at myself and admit that was the hardest pill I ever had to swallow. But it gave me so much enlightenment and power that now when I go forward in the dating world and I'm, building connections with men, I'm no longer accepting anything less than I know that I deserve. And so, that's the journey of sometimes not having those healthy examples to see, in childhood, is that you bump your head over and over and over again until you finally get it. And that's the
That's very
importance of
true.
having these kind of conversations, so that some people can hear our experiences, and their light bulb will come on a lot sooner than some of ours did.
Definitely, definitely. Because one of the things I learned in a scenario like that is that you can't fix what don't want to be fixed.
Hmm.
And I think we as people sometimes, and especially a lot of the young women that I talk to, we, tend to find, even if we're ready, if we, we got a little bit of healing to do, but we're ready. So we get out there and what do? We find someone, like Erica was saying, that kind of almost mirrors what we're doing. And we find things to fix about them. I used to call it my Superman complex, where I would literally put my cape on and be like, okay, I see you got this going on. Let me try to fix this. Or you got this going on. Let me try to fix that. And the whole time, all I was doing was, number one, impeding my own healing, but also, if they didn't want whatever it was to be fixed about them, is that inner trauma they had, then they were just going to go ahead and take it out on me. So I had to learn how to focus on my healing and then be with somebody and search, for somebody who was, trying to heal or was healed as well. So that's
Hmm.
all good. Now, ladies, I gotta hit y'all. But before I do anything else, I keep seeing everybody saying hit the like button. Definitely hit the like button, share the post, share this out. We're on YouTube right now. Keep sharing it out because I think this is an important conversation and a lot of people need to hear this. So make sure you're sharing it out to everybody. If you listen, just share it out to one friend, two friends, three friends, five friends. You do it like one of the old chain letters that they used to have, where you used to be sending it out, sending to five friends. You will get your blessing. Well, we can't promise your blessing.
Don't do that.
All we can do is promise the blessing of dope discussions. So yeah, there we go. So ladies, now that I got that out the way, now I gotta ask y'all some real questions, right? So how important is sex to you personally, right? So that's one of those questions that men always want to know from women because we hear all this stuff out here on social media and all that kind of stuff, but we want to know from y'all personally, how important is sex in your relationships? And just so I can backtrack on some stuff, at what age did y'all decide that y'all were fully confident in your own sexuality?
Ooh.
So we'll start with Bernadette.
Okay. Um, Sex is very important in my relationships. Very. And the age that I became comfortable with actually telling my partners exactly what I needed and stuff, I probably maybe mid 30s, maybe mid 30s.
Hmm.
Yeah, as soon as I started my healing journey and I realized that, what I needed and what I wanted in relationships was just as important as me prioritizing my partner's needs in relationships, that's when I started to speak up about, what I needed in that area as well. Prior to that, I just took what was given and I made it work. I tried to be happy with it, even if it was not, up to par, all of the things, so I feel like as soon as my healing journey started and I started to see worth in myself, outside of what I was doing for other people and just in the fact that I was just me and who I was, that's when I started to really speak up about that stuff.
Hmm.
That's
Okay.
very interesting. And I think that probably is going to be the average of all women, because I know for me personally, I didn't become fully comfortable in my sexuality and expressing my own sexual needs until late 30s, because my view of sex was always, this is something that you give to a man. This is something for a man's pleasure. It's not really for a woman, because a lot of, especially if you grew up in church and you grew up really religious,
Hmm.
sex is for a man. That's what you give to him. Your body is for him. Your sexual Your job as a wife and as a partner is to sexually please your man. And if you have any sexual desires that you express for yourself, then you're considered fast, loosed.
Mm-hmm.
You're a whore. Women are not supposed to have these kind of desires, and women are not supposed to want to have sex. That's just for you to give to your man. So I think a lot of women grew up in that mindset, and that's why it's been so hard for us to express ourselves sexually with our partners. Even in my marriage, I was not able to fully just open up and be sexually, even in the bedroom with my husband. I couldn't just be fully comfortable in my sexuality, or asking for what I want, or telling him if I didn't like something, or if something was not pleasing me. I wasn't able to vocalize that because I thought this was something that I was supposed to do for him. What about you,
Exactly.
Angela?
So yeah, sex is very important. All right, it's not number one, like I think Tashara said, but it is very important to me. And like you said, Erica, I can definitely relate to that. Growing up in the church, sex was always made to be nasty, something that was dirty, something you didn't hear about it. There weren't conversations that were had to help you really understand the meaning behind it and what it really was. And so I think for years I was kind of like that, where I just laid there. Okay. I keep it 100, y'all. So I just, whatever
Yes.
you needed is what, that's just
Mm-hmm.
how it went. And I think around 30, something shifted. Huh? And I
Mhm.
said, wait a minute, if I'm gonna be here too, this has to work
Exactly.
for both of us. You understand me?
Yes.
And but it was a very hard process because I felt like I was almost approved. Like I couldn't even say the word sex. I couldn't even say like, can you? I was so. It's embarrassing and funny now, but it was not funny to be like, so afraid of just saying what you needed. But I also think that it was because of how I was introduced to sex as well, because it was birthed out of trauma and
Mm,
abuse. And so I think, I had to, like you said, I think Bernadette said about I had to heal from that to even understand why that was so difficult for me, or even to even let go.
mhm,
That was very, very hard to be vulnerable in that way. But I also, because sex is very important to me, let me say this. For the past year, I have been abstinent, and that's a choice that I made because I'm still working on some things, and I don't know. I don't want to get too deep with my personal life, but I will say that that has been a hindrance in my relationships because sometimes if it was good, I stayed too long. You know what I'm saying? If the sex was good, I stayed too long in something that was not healthy.
Mm.
And
can I get
so
a
for
witness?
let's just keep it
Listen,
real,
that
okay?
toxic D is no joke.
Listen. And so for me, I had to do that for myself. And thank God I've been holding on. But it's not easy, but it was necessary because it allows me to really take that off of the table and to really
Mm-hmm.
get to know my partner in a deeper way, in a more intimate way that doesn't have anything to do with sex.
Yes, I love that. What about you, Kalisha?
Wow. So sex is very important to me, extremely important to me.
Ooh, she went to the extremely, baby.
Look, hey,
Well,
nothing
well,
wrong with it.
listen, okay,
Okay.
let me be. Go ahead. Did you want to say something, G? Oh, so my sexual experiences also was birth and trauma, and I think a lot of women don't express, how in depth those experiences were to us. There are people who have sex trauma that shut down, and there are people who have sex trauma that become more promiscuous. And I think
Yes.
for me, it was the more promiscuous side. And I think I seek sex as a form of validation. So
Yes.
for the longest, I was just, that's all I had to offer.
Yes.
Like, here it is, boom, you got it, let's go. And I never had serious relationships because of it. I
Yes.
never, before I met my ex-husband, I was never anybody's girlfriend or boyfriend. Because I'm like, you just want sex. Like, that's all you want. Okay, let's do this. Let's get it out of the way. So now, like, now that I'm able to experience it on a more vulnerable level and I'm able to actually enjoy it, oh my God, it is a whole new world for me. So it's extremely important to me to connect with my mate on that level, but also because now I have a mate who understands what I went through. He's like, you're more than that, you know, and I want more from you than that. And I can actually be open and I can actually talk to him. So your question was, when did you become confident in your sexuality? I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know if I'm completely confident in my sexuality because I be fantasizing about things on the other side. You know what I'm saying? So confident in talking about these things? Absolutely. Now I'm completely open to say, hey, this is what I want, this is what I need, but I haven't experimented in, you know, other things. So I just want to say that, like, as far as sexuality, if things don't work out between me and my guy, I might be
as they say, you gonna take a dip. You gonna take a dip in the lady pond.
I might take a dip. I just feel like as women, we're so nurturing, we're so loving, and we're so understanding. Like, I just may need somebody like me to, you know, really understand what I'm coming from. But me and my guy, we together, and we're gonna be together, fam. If we don't, I'm just saying, what's up?
Yes. So the other part of that question was, could you be happy in a relationship where your partner puts their own sexual pleasure above yours consistently?
See, I don't even. I can't grasp the question fully. If they put their sexuality before mine, like if they
their sexual pleasure, their sexual. Right. They're selfish. They are selfish in the sexual area where they're getting theirs, but they're not trying to get you yours.
That's tough. That's tough. And for me, as I said, I have been in several relationships where my pleasure was very much so on the back burner. And I can honestly say I just started masturbating in my late 30s. Like, that's not something I ever did because of the whole Christianity thing. Because that's disgusting. Yeah. You don't do that. That is so terrible. So for me, I don't think that I personally could stay with somebody who didn't fully acknowledge that I have needs too. Like, that's such a disregard for a relationship to say that, oh, I got mine, you know, you do what you do. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think I could stay with somebody who did that.
I know I could.
Yeah.
Me either.
Everybody's shaking their head. We can't do that.
Also, last thing, I want to plug Sherelle Thomas because she is a sex guru, and y'all need to follow her on all social media platforms. She has really helped me to really be more open about what I need in the bedroom. So y'all follow Sherelle.
Yes. Ursula, what about you? How important is sex to you in your relationships, and at what age were you able to fully express to your partner what you needed as far as sex?
Sex is extremely important. To me, it's up there with spiritual wellness, financial wellness, community wellness, sexual wellness is right up there. You know, we're humans. That's how our body responds. So I can say I have not had my experience abused, if that makes any sense. I never suffered from that as a child, but that was imposed on me as a child. Meaning I was told that sex is bad, it's nasty, it's just for a man. But, you know, I always go back to listening to your intuition, because even as a child, I still couldn't understand, well, why is it so bad? Why is it so nasty? Because, first of all, of course, my father never had the conversation. And let me tell you, this is the first conversation of sex I had with my mother. So once my cycle started, my mother panicked. So I'm thinking, well, what the hell? This is, even then I knew as a child, this is a natural function. And she said, Ursula, you make sure, you know, my mom's Spanish, you make sure he puts on his raincoat.
Now, how you supposed to know what a raincoat is?
Well, let me tell you, I thought when she said that, so of course I have all these question marks on top of my head. And then the first thing I thought about was, remember back in the day, the Gordon's fisherman with the yellow? So I have a picture of this white man with a yellow rain cap yellow raincoat and yellow boots. I still, but my point is there was still no communication.
Right.
So because I was still looking for love, just like Kalisha, I was not approved. I was on the opposite end. And no, I wasn't screwing everyone. However, when I did get in relationships, we started sex extremely fast. Already, my judgment was already clouded because, I'm getting some good D. So, of course, why am I going to think with my brain?
Right.
My toes are curling. My hair is sticking straight up. So I've never, total opposite from my mom. I never thought sex was nasty. I love to have sex. And I've never been one to just normally lay on my back and take it. No. I took it the other way, meaning I would just close my mouth outside of the bed, of course, and still being a people pleaser. I don't want to express my feelings, but in the bed, it was something different. So I would say in my early 30s, probably 30, is when I just really came into like, oh, I'm having some grown folk sex right now. Some grown stuff. So yeah, I love it. And no, I will not stay with a man who puts his own sexual satisfaction consistently ahead of mine. Nah. That's not gonna happen. It's just not. I mean, that is extremely selfish. And I'm not going to use my body in that kind of way as an emotional pincushion.
Right.
Right.
Oh, you know what? And real quick, this I can't remember the name of this book. I mentioned it to you all in our chat, and this was really a game changer. And it was saying how they do not know how to communicate, but this is from his research. So instead of using their mouth, they'll use their penis. And instead of us talking about how we really feel, the women, we hold our vaginas as a pacifier. And he called it passive promiscuity. He said that was a game changer right there when I read it. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to just be there just to have it. It should be
right.
Togetherness.
Yeah. Yes. Altagracia, what about you? How important is sex inside of your relationships? And at what age were you confident to fully express your sexual needs to your partner?
Okay. Up here. Sex is up here.
Yes.
My girl.
I can't. Yeah, no, it's up here. Way up here. All right, yeah. So I went away. I'm back.
I love that though. I want the audience to know that sex is just as important to women as men, because there's this narrative that women use sex as currency to get what they want from men. And that's just not the case. We are sexual beings. We have sexual desires, and we have power and choice over that. And so I'm glad we're having this conversation. So go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I would say I'm like Kalisha and Ursula, where I had some sexual trauma that I didn't even know was sexual trauma till I went to school and learned that it was sexual trauma.
Wow.
And so I definitely went the more promiscuous route. But because of that, what I ended up doing is seeking relationships, whether they were toxic or not, so that I wouldn't be hopping around, right? And just kind of getting this craving that I had met. And so even though those relationships were terrible, my sex life was great. And all of them. It was great in all of them. I would say that I became sexually confident probably in my early 20s. Early 20s, I remember one of my abusers saying like, oh, you can't do that, because I have rheumatoid arthritis. And so I got it when I was like 16. I was living on my own by that time. And I got crippled in that sense. I couldn't walk, couldn't do anything, but God, I could have sex.
It didn't break that, did it?
It did not. And so he would say like, "Oh, you can't do this and you can't do that." But whenever we having sex, it's like all that pain is gone. I'm like, "It sure did. That's exactly what happens."
Yes.
So I have, I advocate for what I want. I love a lot of things, and I know what I don't like, and I will, to answer the second part of that, the third part of that question, no, I will not stay with someone who doesn't prioritize my needs, even though I've done it. So the last abusive relationship that I was in, I stayed in even though the sex wasn't what I wanted it to be, because I didn't want to take my children out of another thing. Right. And so I
Right.
really wanted to try to make that work. And I was like, sex is important, but I have toys. I could like fill in the gaps. But after I left him and I got with my partner that I'm with now, I'm like, thank God. Like, thank God that it ended, because I don't have to sacrifice nothing.
Exactly. We don't have to sacrifice anything. And I love what all of you ladies said. And it resonates with me because um, I went through a promiscuous phase in my 20s where I was like Kalisha said, I was having sex for validation. I was having sex to get the closeness and the attention from men, but it wasn't physically, I wasn't really enjoying the act of it because I couldn't let myself fully enjoy it because I was thinking in the back of my mind, it's nasty, it's evil. You're having sex with me and you're fornicating. You should not be doing this. This is, you're not married and all that type of stuff. But I started to quickly realize it was something that I could use as a power tool. I had power over men. I could wield my power over them. I could get them to do things that I wanted them to do. I can get them to behave in a way that I wanted them to behave because I had something that they wanted from me. And so it turned into where it was first, I was trying to get something from them to I started using it as I'm gonna use this, to get what I want from you instead of me thinking that you're getting something out of me. And so a lot of times when I would be in situations where guys were trying to, I'm thinking we're trying to get to know each other, be in a relationship, and they're trying to rush to have sex. And I'd be like, and then something would flip in my mind. Okay, so if that's what you want, I'm gonna flip it around and I'm gonna turn it on you. And then I'm not gonna be available to you anytime that you want to have sex with me. Maybe I'll answer my phone, maybe I won't. Who knows? Because I'm holding the power now. And so I was using it in that toxic way. And when I look back on it, it was just pain and it was just hurt and it was just, toxicity and all of my, situations from childhood of kind of probably having like a pent up hatred for men towards men, from my abandonment issues. And so I love when we can have these conversations and probably young women, a lot of times we will judge young women for being promiscuous and we're judging the behavior, but we're not examining why is the behavior, where did it come from, was she sexually molested, is she having daddy issues, abandonment issues, what is it underlying, instead of just saying, throwing and the black community is good about this. Oh, she fast, she been with all these different men, she got baby daddies, she been having sex with Tom, Dick, and Harry, and they throw little girls away in the black community and not trying to get to the root of the cause of the issues. And so that's why I'm glad we're having these conversations about sex, so that women can understand you are sexual beings. You're not wrong for having sexual desires. It's just that and we need to teach boys that just because you have sexual desires and our social construct teaches you to get as much sex as you can because that's going to make you a man, they need to be taught that that's something precious that they need to hold to themselves the same way we teach that to young girls. Because if we're going to tell young girls to keep it to themselves and tell boys to go get it as much as you can, who they getting it from?
Right.
It
That
does.
power structure is unbalanced at
Mhm.
that at that point.
I
You
also
know.
had something to add to what Black Girls Talking Though Shift was saying about being able to communicate your needs with men. Because I've been in relationships where men think they know it all. So if you say, hey, I didn't like that, this not how I want it. You know, you have to be able to communicate it in a way that reaches them where they're not offended by what you say. And I don't like that because I want to be able to say, don't put your tongue there and it'd be okay. You know what I'm saying? But I'm in situations where that's not the case. So if there are women out there who are listening, who are in relationships that you don't feel like you can communicate with your significant other about what you want or what you don't want, just find a way to say it. Find areas to discuss it where they're not offended, because men are easily offended because they really think that they know what they're doing and you can't tell them nothing.
We
God.
love somebody more than our own self.
Right.
Right.
So,
What I don't like that. That's not what I like. So, you know, men, listen, men, understand that we're not trying to hurt your feelings. We're not saying that you're imperfect. We're just saying, I don't like your tongue there. So,
Can I tell y'all a story real quick?
Yeah.
With an ex, the first time we had sex, it was lousy. Okay, it wasn't horrible, but it was lousy. And he got up, and I think after we talked about it, and he just knew he put it down. And I'm thinking, damn, I'm gonna be with him. I gotta let him know, like, this isn't it, sir. No. And he got up like he was Superman. And he was like, you like that? And you wasn't.
It hurt his ego.
Well, I felt like it did. I was very kind when I said it, but I was not going to sacrifice my body just for his ego if both of us are having sex together. So yeah, I gently told him, and he's like, "Oh damn, I thought I was putting it down." No.
Sir, go put it down over there somewhere.
Right.
Right.
Or, I'll gently move his hand or his mouth, like, nicely. He just not listening. So men, yes, like Kalisha says, listen to what the woman says. I get you all probably get it from watching porn a lot, but that's all performance. We're in bed now making love.
Yeah. That's a big thing. A lot of men get a lot of their actions and some of the things that they do during sex from porn. That's kind of where they learn all of their stuff from. And you're right. A lot of them think that they putting it down. So the big thing is that me personally, I'm not one of those people who doesn't listen, or I'm not really bruised with ego. But I will tell you this: as a man, there's a lot of men who will be that way. I've had somebody. It also depends on how you tell your partner too. Because if you tell your partner, they laying it down like, get off me. Oh, what? Wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? Because people don't realize. People don't realize when a man is actually having sex with you, that's when they're the most vulnerable, right? So the one thing that they got that they trying to give you, if you rejecting that, then you might as well have took their favorite toy from a 5-year-old, because that's how they feel. They are crushed. I've had somebody tell me before, like when I was younger, especially, I'm just not getting in it. They was like, well, your tongue needs to be right here. It don't need to be. And it was almost like I was like, yes, drill sergeant. And after a while, I'm just like, I can't do nothing right. What is going on? And it bruised me. So next time she called, want me to come over. Why you want me to come over? Don't see like I was doing nothing right the last time. Yeah. Our egos, when we get in that situation, can be slightly fragile. But that's because we are at our most vulnerable state when we try to put it down. Sometimes sometimes there's got to be a loser. And sometimes the guy will be a loser if you communicate, what you like and what you don't like. Sometimes we just got to tuck tail and, do whatever we got to do. But try to be sensitive.
We're gonna be sensitive. We're gonna be sensitive, but we're not gonna be quiet.
Right.
No, don't be quiet. See, that's the other thing. Don't be quiet, because if you continue to let him go on with this ratchetness and go on with that tomfoolery, and he's sitting there thinking faking is the worst thing you could possibly do.
Right.
So let him think that he putting it down and he ain't really doing nothing, because there may be a day where you don't feel like faking. So he gonna be sitting there looking crazy, like, wait a minute, I thought I was, but you said I was, but you was screaming. No, don't fake. Just give it to him real,
Yeah.
off the top, so that he know. Don't even fake moan. If you hear the little spot, no, that ain't it. That ain't it. That ain't it. So make it real clear for him to see where he got to go.
Can
And
I
it'll
add two
work.
I
comments
feel
to
like,
that?
oh,
Yes.
go on. Sorry.
I was gonna say one of the things that I do is stroke the ego to communicate what I like and
That's
what I
actually
don't
a
like.
good way of doing it.
So I'm very quiet when things ain't right and very loud when they're great. It's sort of like you need to pay attention to the body so that you're getting the cues, because then otherwise it does lead to the ego getting hurt because you're not listening. So
Right.
stroking the ego is one of the methods that I use so that I don't bruise him and so that I don't make it so that he doesn't want to continue, right? So I totally get that. The other comment that I wanted to add was when we were talking about it being uncomfortable and stuff, my mother gave me the Kama Sutra book when I was 18.
Wow.
And so what I just wanted to throw that out there before we moved on and off this topic is I'm already having conversations with my daughter about that, right? Because she's already had her period. Her body's already changing, right? And so the prepping and the letting her know it's normal that you're curious. It's normal that these are things that happen. It's not a bad thing. It's a bad thing when you do it with the wrong person. Like,
Yeah.
you know, but it's not a bad. And so it was really interesting to hear everyone talk about that molding and that perspective, and knowing that I definitely had my mom took a totally different approach. It was just like, I did half the things in this book. What do you want to know?
Right,
And
right.
how that, like, I think that might have contributed to me feeling very comfortable in my early 20s. Not that you need to feel comfortable in your 20s. I don't think there's anything wrong between 20s, 30s, and 40s. Whenever you get there, you get there. But I think the way we were taught and maybe working to change that for the next generation. So I just wanted to pop that in there.
I
Yeah,
wanted to add something as well.
Okay.
Like, I think that there's a really big misconception that, sex in the beginning with a new partner has to be amazing right off the bat, when that should not be the expectation. I feel like sex is supposed to be explorative. It's supposed to be a lot of play. It's supposed to be a lot of pleasure. You're supposed to, be able to be sensual with your partner, and just being able to understand, like, okay, what does this particular person like? I feel like a lot of times we're going in with the same playbook that we used on Sally or on Mark, when this is a completely new situation. And if we go into it with an open mind and just with the attitude of wanting to explore and learn who you are and what you like, then it becomes better over time. And I feel like a lot of us don't think that. We feel like sex is supposed to look like the way it does in porns. But what you said, it's very performative. Those people are acting. They've had like 60, 70 different takes to get that particular scene right. And if we're looking at that as, the example that we should be using, a lot of us are getting it really wrong. And so for me, like, I love what you said, Altagracia, about, like just stroking the ego as a way to encourage them. And I feel like for me, I've always been the kind of person where I said, you know what, I would love to try XYZ, or I think that it's really sexy when blah, 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 or like, I love it when you do XYZ. So like, they know exactly what that cheat code is, because I feel like at the end of the day, if you give a man the cheat code to exactly what you need, this is the combination, sir, of what I need right now. Like, here we go. That's what they're going to use. Like, I mean, a lot of times all you have to do is let them know exactly what it is, how you like it, in a tone that's inviting, in a tone that's, like welcoming them to explore your body and stuff like that. And you will see that a lot of what they end up doing is going to be exactly what you like. But then they're also so much more open to take criticism, to like, hear what it is that you have to say. And once you establish that, even in the bedroom, that translate out of the bedroom as well. It doesn't just stop there. Like when we're able to use that kind of language with men and stuff like that, like it really does translate every place else. All they want to do at the end of the day, healthy men who really love us, they want to make us happy. So if they have the cheat code, please believe that this is exactly what they're going to do, because they want to see that smile on their face. They want that ego boost of knowing that they put it there, that they put it down, that they did exactly what you wanted them to do. And like, you got the satisfaction and they saw it, like, so I feel like if we can do more of that, we would be much better off.
Yes, I love that. I think so many people get this misconception of what it's supposed to be like from movies and TV. Like the first time you have sex with somebody, y'all gonna be tearing their clothes off, and he gonna push you up against the wall, and then he gonna flip you over like that, and then it's gonna be so god amazing. And it's like, that's a movie.
Right, right.
For
You think that the
entertainment
one
purposes.
is gonna be that way. If it don't happen that way, maybe they not the one.
Right.
Or
They
maybe
think that.
and it's not that.
Right. They think because the sex wasn't mind blowing the very first time, then this is just not the one. And it's like, you don't know this man. He don't know what you like. This is y'all's first time. It might be awkward. Y'all might be nervous. This your first time seeing each other naked. So it's probably not going to be the best sex you ever had the first time, but y'all have to get to know each other.
Right, right. And one thing I do want to talk about that Altagracia was saying, don't let the streets teach your children about sex.
Mm.
Mm.
It's one thing to a lot of people who grew up in the church. I grew up in the church too, and in a lot of churches, it's kind of frowned upon. It's you don't hear that type of conversation going on, and parents, they don't teach their kids about sex and what not to do and what to do, and don't let the streets do it, because the streets will do it. They
Mhm.
will teach your kids. And guess what? They probably not gonna give them a good lesson. It's better for you as a parent to start teaching your kids, before they even get to the stage where they're gonna be possibly out there in the streets. Start teaching them, about sex and letting them know that it's okay, it's not nasty, but also giving them alternatives, abstinence, things like that, because what you don't want to have happen is they best friends sitting on the back of the bus, giving them instructions of something they seen in a video that their daddy had in their closet. That's the wrong thing.
Yes. All right. So even though, sex is like one of our favorite topics, we're going to move on to the next topic. So, ladies, have you ever lost your identity or lost your voice in a relationship? And how did you bounce back from that experience? So I'm going to start with Bernadette.
Absolutely. Almost every relationship that I've been in, I have lost my voice and lost my identity. And the first time that I think I recognized it happening was in college. I had dated this guy. I think it was the person who I swore that I was going to marry. And it was like my first really adult relationship. And in that relationship, I completely lost myself in that I did not hang out with my friends anymore. I just was like, I ghosted them completely. I was completely consumed by that relationship. And when it ended, I was gutted. It was a
Mm.
complete devastation. I didn't understand who I was anymore. I did not understand what I used to do prior to that relationship. I was trying to figure out how to even reconnect with my friends. And it was a lot of really lonely nights trying to get through the heartbreak of that relationship and not understanding how to navigate it at all. So that was pretty much the first time that I realized, like, wow, I completely lost myself in this relationship. I didn't know how to find myself again. I didn't know anything about self-love or self-discovery even at that point still. And so I was lost for years. And I feel like I probably maybe had some kind of version of that particular thing happen in relationships up until I had a come into Jesus moment where he was like, listen, these relationships that you're having right now, you're the common denominator. And if
Mm.
you're not going to change, then nothing about these relationships are going to change. You're going to keep having the same type of experiences over and over again with a different person, and you're not understanding what it is about you that's causing that. So I really had to look at myself there, and it was a hard pill to swallow. It was a uphill battle. I was crawling through healing sometimes because it was tough. But what I would say is that it really taught me a lot. And now, when I'm talking to clients, or even like women in general, I can pinpoint exactly how they feel and what they're going through because I've been through it for so long that I can see it. So it was a learning experience for sure.
Yes, I love that. What about you, Angela?
Listen, this is something I'm still working through, and that's my truth. Because when you've gone so long being silent, it's like it sometimes it's like a double dutch shot. Should I say it? Should I not? I really go through this still, and my therapist is amazing because she's very patient with me, and
Yeah.
working on this. But I think Ursula said it earlier. It started in childhood and being silenced in, for me, being silenced in the home. Shut up. We don't want to hear what you got to say. Be quiet. And especially as Black parents, you didn't get to have in a lot, not all, but in most of our households, you didn't get an opinion. You didn't get to have
Yes.
a say so. And in some ways, I understand that as a mother now, because sometimes it's like, shut up. I said what I said, but in other instances, it wasn't healthy, because
Yeah.
then you don't know how to voice your opinion, how when to voice it. You don't know. And so I think it started in childhood, and then going into relationships with men who were very short tempered and angered. And if you said the wrong thing, they would leave or throw or break something. I felt like when I opened my mouth, damage would happen, like something
Mhm.
bad would happen. And so, yeah, it's something I'm still working on, because I want to make sure that when I speak, I say the right thing. So I'm always second guessing myself. I'm always afraid to say something that would damage the relationship or hurt someone, or, because even with that, I've had people play mind games with me
Yeah.
because they didn't want to be accountable. So if I
Yeah.
called them out on something, it was like switched, or turned on you. And so it's something I'm still working on, but I definitely realize how important it is, because, like I think it was said earlier, it turns into the people pleasing. It turns into so many things that, at this age, I'm feeling like you should already have that together, sis. Like you should already, but I went so long trying to, I went so long just being quiet, being silent.
Yeah. That's the beauty of it, though. Sometimes we can say that you should be better at this by now. You should be further along than you are by now, but it's still all a day to day process. I mean, if you are better today than you were yesterday,
Right.
that's progress. And, I admire all of you ladies on here. You brought so much value and insight to this conversation, to these topics, and you're doing the work, and I can tell from your conversation that you all are doing the work. So you know kudos to you. You say you a work in process, so am I, so are we all are still
Yes.
working on some things that we need to overcome. And it's I would say people who've been doing the work for 10 plus years would tell you that they still have to make conscious decisions every day to not revert back to their childhood programming. So that's
Mhm.
that's a day-to-day process. What about you, Kalisha?
I love all of that. We are constantly learners. We're constantly being able to adjust who we are. But I got to say that I've never been silenced. I've never lost my voice. Um, I've never lost my identity. I just am who I am. Like, and I guess I can attribute that to my toxic mom. Like, she was not going to back her into a corner. And let me be clear, my mom is 4'11". My dad is 6'4". It didn't
Woo!
matter.
That's
When Shrek and Duncan went to war, take it down. My grandma used to always say, my grandma also 4 foot nothing. I'm a little piece of leather, but I'm well put together. Because I don't care what the scenario is, what the situation is. I have a voice, and I won't be silent. And I'm gonna be honest. I have an uncle. I have two uncles that were in the army. My oldest uncle, he died a couple of years ago. But when they came back from the army, I was their soldier. So they instilled so much in me about just being able to be strong. Like, don't let anybody take any advantage of you. So I can't say I've lost my identity. Like when my ex-husband wanted to fight, we fought. Like, so we want to talk about, let's talk about, let's go. So I've never ever had to refine myself. I think the biggest challenge for me has been motherhood. finding my place as a mother, because I've been a mother over half my life now. And I've had so many trials and tribulations with my children because they've grown with me. So that has been my toughest identity crisis, is what am I or who am I as a mother? Not necessarily in a relationship, but I have had difficulty parenting. So if anybody out there listening and you're trying to hook up with me, I am who I am. I will fight. Just know that.
Did your kids inherit that from you? Have they been
My daughter, I can't stand her.
Oh, you got you one. You got you one.
right? You got
I
one.
tell you, she tit for tat. I had to swear up on her some days. I'm like, girl, well, you understand? Yes, my daughter has inherently became who I am as a person. She's going to where she's at a predominantly white school, and she's BLM all day, every day. So she comes home and she's telling me about what they said and what they not gonna say to her. And I'm like, what about So yes, my children are definitely my oldest. He's 16, going on 17. He's very humble. Never had a problem out of him. Younger, when me and my husband was getting divorced, he was kind of acting out. But from then, he's been just as humble as he can be. And my smallest, he's 7. He is very outspoken, very straightforward. But my daughter, Hellraiser. You don't know her when you see her.
Yes. Ursula, so have you ever lost your voice or your identity in a relationship? And how did you bounce back from it?
All day long, yes. I grew up with a lot of invalidation, which made me second guess myself. And it was always a question up here, but right here, I knew what I knew, but now that I'm thinking about it, I ignored it because I had a stronger adult voice telling me something total opposite than what my soul was vibrating, right? So I couldn't help but not lose myself, because I didn't, just like Angela said, it was such a big trigger. I would be in my head so much that I didn't want to say the wrong thing because he may leave. And then there goes my anxious attachment and the abandonment issues. And it was always a constant trigger for me. So you know what? It's just easier. Just be small. Yeah. But again, because I am mouthy, I thought I was doing something, but I really wasn't. It was it was not effective at all. It was truly just a bunch of words, but yeah, I still wasn't saying anything how I really felt. Okay. And like the other ladies have said, shut up, go to your room. You're a child, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, damn, I probably don't know. And then here I go, dating my parents.
Ooh.
I mean, yeah. So I swore I would never be like my mom, but I literally put myself into a box. That was going to keep my relationship.
So going forward in your next relationship, do you feel like you have your voice and it's strong enough that it won't be silenced again?
Oh, absolutely. Again, I've gone to therapy. I'm still in therapy, and I love going to therapy. Every time I go, I peel back some more layers, and I have a shadow work coach. So I'm getting into the spiritual side of it. So I am no longer stifling myself, because it's like self-violence upon myself. So I'm so excited about dating, because like I said before, I'm vibrating higher. I cannot help but attract what I feel inside. And I know now when I voice my opinion, and it's not going to be the mouthy, in love and in effective communication. And if that partner, he decides to leave and abandon, yeah, more than likely I still will feel that trigger, that abandonment scar that I've had as a child. However, I'm not going to go run after, because he's not for me. So yes. I'm so excited on dating right now.
Yay.
Whoever he is. Listen.
He about to have him a good woman.
Listen, that's what it is, because I'm now the woman that I want to date.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, because how was I navigating before or not saying what I really wanted? But we can be in the bed and I can say everything. Like we're having some fireworks sex, but
Yes.
now it's gonna be popping in and outside of the bed, and I cannot wait.
I'm happy for you. What about you, Altagracia? Have you ever lost your identity, your voice in a relationship, and how did you bounce back from it?
I have never lost my voice. Absolutely have lost my identity. And I think they're two very distinct things. And I think I never lost my voice because my parents never stifled me. I don't know. My mom's Dominican, my dad's Haitian. And so I think I had like the mismatch, but my dad, I was always allowed to speak. I was always allowed to say I don't agree. I was also the ninth baby, so that could be why, right? That could be why. But going into relationships, I was a lot like Kalisha, and I think that was something toxic that I had to learn to stop doing. For me, I was a barker. I was like, if you're gonna hit me, we were just gonna do it. Like it's about to go down. I'm gonna lose anyway, so I'm gonna go down swinging. Kind of an attitude. And I think I just did. I was doing a series on my Instagram where I was talking about that, how sometimes we develop toxic traits that we don't recognize. And that was something that I had to learn how to undo with the voice, is learn to actually shut up a little more. And process through what it is that is actually happening within me before I just lash out with my words, because I can't take them back. So that was something I had to learn. But as far as my identity is concerned, I would completely melt away into my relationships. Like everything I wanted, everything I liked, everything I did would not exist once I was committed into the relationship. And I think I learned that from my mother. Her being from the islands, it was all about catering to the husband, right? Like the more you could cater to him, the better wife or partner you were. So it was all about what they needed, what they wanted, where they wanted to go, how they wanted to do it, except for sex. But everything else was like that. And so the way that I reeled myself back in was spirituality. And I love what Ursula said with the shadow work. Like, because I consider myself a shadow walker, which is just, I've learned to sit in the depths of my darkness as the light.
Yeah.
So that I can recognize what's going on and decide what gets to continue and what gets to stop. And that was something that I had to learn, which is what I value, what makes me happy, what brings me joy. Absolutely, from now on, is an anchor in how I move forward in any relationship. And so I've honored that. Like I've honored that with, I love to socialize. I don't want to be afraid to socialize with a man because you're insecure. Like, what the hell does that have to do with me? It ain't got nothing to do with me. And so I was done. I'm done not socializing with men and or women because it might make you uncomfortable. No, you need to work on that. And if you don't trust me enough to allow me to be myself, then we're like, we're not meant to be together. And so like, it's just not going to work. But it took a lot of work to learn to honor and value me first. And walk in with me and knowing that whoever is going to come into the picture is going to love me and not what I can give or do for them. Right. Like that's not what it's all about, because that led to toxic situations. They too get bored. Like they get bored.
Yeah.
They walk all over you. And that's why they do it. Because you don't exist. You don't have an opinion, nothing. And so that was something that I had to learn. And I just want to throw in Sherelle Thomas's name again. Okay. Because she does a lot of sex and intimacy stuff, but she also works with love and really working on yourself and being able to voice your desires, like put a name to it, voice it, claim it, own it, and call it in. And so I just want to I love her so much. And I think she does. More people need to know about her because she's breaking barriers. She's a Black woman and she's talking about all these things that we're talking about, but not a lot of other people want to talk about. So yeah,
that's good. And I'm glad she's doing that because more young women need that, because we come from a generation where the voice was stifled and we were taught that it's you're there to serve the man and it's not about you. And so I'm glad she's opening that up.
Like, and I want to. She works with women, but she really helps men.
Really?
Yes, she helps men understand the value and the power of a woman
Wow.
and how to honor her body and how to recognize, like, how to be of service to her so that she can then be of service to you and not the other
Yeah.
way around. And that is something that I have been very fortunate to have witnessed
Yeah.
myself.
That's a win-win situation.
Right. Right.
Yes. And I love what all you ladies said about, losing your voices and your identity in your relationship. And like what I said before, when I realized I wasn't relationship material. And the reason I say that is because I don't really remember having an identity before a relationship. I made the relationship my identity. I made the relationship my whole purpose in life. And that's why, like what Bernadette said earlier, whenever a relationship would come to an end, it was complete devastation to me because that was my life. And so now, who am I when I'm not in this relationship? And it felt like every time it felt like I was mourning a death of myself. And so one of the worst breakups that I ever went through, I remember laying in my bed and I could not physically pick myself up off of the bed. That's just how much the life had left my body. And I knew that wasn't right. And I knew that was like, something is wrong with this. You're not supposed to feel like you want to die after every time a relationship ends. And so that's what woke me up and made me realize you're doing something wrong and you're not relationship material because you're not supposed to feel like life is over after a relationship ends. What you got for us, Gator?
Hey, that is very true. Sorry about the mute, what I'm saying? I had to make sure that I am now by the airport, right? So
Hmm.
I've done a little bit of moving, and every once in a while there'll be an airplane that literally flies like right over my house. So I was about
Wow.
to chime in, and the house was shaking because there was an airplane that was literally above my house. So I
Wow.
apologize, y'all, for the mute. But yeah, I did want to interject something. So I do have a question. So how do you feel about the idea or that modern concept of dating and gender roles in relationships right now? Because a lot of people, feel like the idea of gender roles in relationships is dead, but we still are kind of dealing with the residuals of that. So, do you think that that's something that is dead, or is that something you embrace, the idea of gender roles? And also, to kind of tag on the back of that, would you be turned off? Speaking of gender roles, would you be turned off by a man that asked you to go Dutch on a date? And I'm gonna direct this one to Ursula specifically, since she's ready for that dating adventure. So yeah, first of all, what do you feel about gender roles, Ursula? And secondly, would you be turned off if a man asked you to go Dutch?
On the first date, yes, I absolutely would. When we're together, definitely. Let's come together. We will have more. But first date, nah, I'm not feeling that at
No.
all. No, I'm not. What you said, gender roles, as far as which aspect?
Well,
Like a
those traditional roles, like your male role, provider, caretaker, the female role, housemaker, that type of thing. Those gender roles that we've kind of been dealing with for the last semi 50, 100 years or more.
Hmm. Right now, well, let me see how I grew up, and I'm sure because I see we have a Jamaican, a Panamanian, and a Haitian Dominican in this panel. I, I'm sure we grew up the same way with the strong gender roles. Have you all? No,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now, it doesn't bother me. That's not the big thing. I'm more focused on the emotional intelligence of a man and his maturity, his emotional maturity. That's what gets me moist.
Girl
I'm
said
being honest.
moist.
I don't want to waste my drops, but it will make me moist. I love that. So
Sure, come get your friend.
Yes, I love that.
I grew up with strong gender roles, so that'd probably be a little deep programming right there. But I'm flexible. I'm so fluid with that. It doesn't bother me. Yeah, I don't like to be stuck in the same box. Because look at the toxic box that I came from.
Mhm.
I don't want to continue anything else. It wasn't good. So I'm fluid with that.
Gator,
I
who you?
agree. I agree. Look. I'm sitting here. I'm trying to mute back and forth. Look, y'all just don't understand. Altagracias, how do you feel about this scenario? How do you feel about gender roles? Do you think that we should kind of stick to those same traditions? Do you believe in that gender roles, those identifications? And would you be all right if a guy had asked you on a date and said, "Hey, let's go Dutch"?
Oh, okay. I'll answer the gender roles first. And I'm going to say, I think I definitely grew up with the very clear what a man does and what a woman does kind of a thing. What I embrace is absolutely not that. So you're no. I think there's things about a man that are just natural things about a man, right? Like the desires, the biological needs, like those things that make him masculine, right? The structure. And then I think there's things about a woman that makes her the woman, the feminine, the flow, the always just kind of making things work. And I honor that. What I don't honor is expectations that I'm gonna cook, clean, work, and do all it. Like I'm not doing none of that. Like I'm gonna do what I can when I can, and I expect you to do what you can when you can. So outside of just the innate, like my man feels like the king. He is the king of our household, and I am the queen of our household, which means that we make decisions together. You do not supersede me. I do not supersede you. And that's where I think I have kind of like this is my version of us being in our roles. There are times when he leads and there are times when I get to lead. And we both have to honor that. But I'm not living in a box of these are the things that are expected of me. And if I don't check them, then therefore I'm not, no, I'm all set. Nor do I expect it of him. Like I don't expect any of those things of him. I expect him to be my partner. And that's it. And he expects me to be his partner. And that's what we walk in. And whatever that looks like on any given day, that's just what it is. And I'm happy with it. As far as a guy asking to go Dutch on the first date, I actually had this conversation with my friend today.
So this is
Because,
fresh.
yeah. So for me, it's like, I wouldn't care. And I kind of would prefer that. Because I feel like it's like, and that might be from my past experience. It's a like I'm not obligated. I don't feel obligated to provide, to do, to call you later, nothing. So it's like I won't go on a date unless I have the money to pay for my own plate and the money to get myself back home. And so I go into it with the expectation that when the bill gets to the table, I'm taking my card out. If you then, as the man, say, no, I got it, don't worry about it. Are you sure? Yep. Okay, cool. Thank you. But letting you know that I'm very capable of doing for myself and I appreciate being catered to, but I'm not expecting it. But that's just me.
Okay. I know a lot of women would be like, I think that's a good way of going about it, but I know a lot of women are like, no. You ask me first. No, you ask me out here. You better be ready to pay for me when we get out here. What say you, Bernadette? First of all, again, how do you feel about the modern ideas of gender roles, and how about going Dutch on the first date? What you think?
Okay. For me, going Dutch on the first date is a no. More than likely because the man would have asked me out, and I am of the thinking that whoever asks the person out is the one who pays. If I ask you out, and if I decide that I want to take you someplace, I'm going to pay for it. But if you ask me out, which is typically what happens on a first date situation, then I'm expecting that you're going to pay for that. In terms of gender roles, just as Ursula said, I grew up in a household where gender roles were clearly defined. However, because I grew up in a Jamaican home, both my grandparents and everybody in our house knew how to cook. They all knew how to clean and things like that. That wasn't a thing that was specifically like, woman's work or man's work. I learned how to cook when I was 9 years old and on from my grandfather. So it's like, he was the one that did a lot of stuff. He was the one that was up on Sundays making us, cornmeal porridge and this and that. So it's like, all of those kinds of things I learned from my grandfather. However, I definitely learned gender roles, and it's something that I respect even today in my relationships. However, the way I look at it is that I am a natural nurturer. I naturally want to take care of the people that I love. And so I just embrace that fully. I don't look at it as being something that has to be done because it's, my role. It's just how I want to show up in relationships, and I fully embrace that. And when I realize that I do that, I notice that my partner usually falls into a role of their own. And a lot of times it is the protector and provider. And I love feeling like a very feminine woman in my relationships. And naturally, as a nurturer, and naturally bringing that out of him because of how I am in the relationships is what I feel, most secure in terms of relationships. However, I absolutely feel like the biggest thing for me is mutual effort. And mutual effort to me does not mean equal effort. It means that you're going to be doing the things that you know that you thrive in, and I'm going to be doing the things that I thrive in. And so if my partner is the person who knows how to do finances better than I do, that's the person who's going to take the lead on that. If I'm the person who knows how to, like invest and stuff like that, I'll take the lead in these conversations. If my partner is a better cook and he knows that I'm going to be late because I'm doing XYZ, then I would expect that he's going to do dinner and vice versa. So for me, mutual effort and respect in the relationship, and just honoring each person and their zone of genius in that particular relationship, I think is how I usually thrive in my relationships going forward now.
Love it.
Yeah, that's real good. And that the whole thing, the common denominator here is that partnership. And that's what we should
Absolutely.
be looking for is a partner. When people refer to, the man is the head, not the tail, he never said the woman was the tail either. And a lot of men for some reason get that misconstrued. It is really about finding a partner. You're going to be weak at some points, and that your partner may be stronger in those points. Well, hey, we're doing this together. I don't want you behind me, I want you on the side of me, so that we can confront these things together, and you may have a different perspective than I have, and that'll allow us to grow and to continue along our mission and to succeed ultimately. So, I think y'all are hitting it on the head as far as like a partnership. Now, what say you, first of all, Angela, first of all, would you be okay with going Dutch on a first date? And secondly, how do you feel about the gender roles? Do you feel like it's antiquated, it's outdated? How do you feel about it?
I definitely feel like I'm in agreement with both Altagracia and Bernadette. I feel like the areas that you thrive in, do that. And I'm not fighting against it to try to make my relationship look like TV or what other people say it should be. You have to do what's best for you. Gender roles are not one size fits all. So what somebody else do in a relationship and a marriage, it may not work for you. So for me, like I just listen, you got that, I got this. Like you said, the areas that you thrive in, we got it. As it pertains to this first date business, very unpopular opinion. This is how I view it. I used to be the person that was like, well, if he asks, he pays, but I'll be prepared, right? But at this point, I feel like for most of us, if you've gone on enough first dates, you know that they usually don't go as expected. So I look at first dates very differently. I looked at them as interest meetings. Okay. You trying to see if you
Mm.
interested in me. I'm trying to see if I'm interested in you. Okay. Nothing set in stone. I don't know you. You don't know me. So let's take the pressure off. So for
Yeah.
myself, in the past, I've taken the pressure off of the first day situation. So it may be something like the park, something that's free, something that we can just be chill in, and that way there's no like who gonna pay and what we gonna do and all of that. That's how I handle it, because again, most of the time after the first date, you realize I don't like you no way. You don't communicate. I mean, it's something that's usually found out in that time, that you ain't got to waste your time and your money. Keep it simple. It's an interest meeting. Don't go into it thinking, well, that's who I'm gonna be with, because it's probably not gonna happen. And just enjoy the moment. And so that's how I handle it. So no, I would not. Now, again, let's do something free. Don't expect me to be paying. Let's do something that's like
Right.
the park or something like that. But yeah, that's how I see and view first dates.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Now, Kalisha, definitely want to get it from you. First date? Are you going Dutch?
Absolutely. If you ask me out on a date and you say you gonna pay for your own food, then we don't just say this is not a date. Let's just say this is not a date. Like you said, we not, because if you ask me out on this date and you tell me I'm gonna pay, we're not on a date. That's just not how it works.
This
So
is a
I
meeting.
completely, exactly, I completely agree. A business meeting at best. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Even my company pays for my meals, so I don't know what you got going on. So
Hey.
I don't see. I'm the type of person, I love to take care of myself. So if we discuss it, if it's a communication and we're just going to hang out and I pay for my own food, that's fine. But if you say, "Hey, boo, I want to take you out on a date, but you got to pay for your food," say, stop there. This is not the case. So that's how I feel about that. And when I saw the question about gender roles, I'm one of those type of people who research it. And so I was like, what is a gender role? What is this even talking about? And so I looked up this traditional gender roles, feminine versus masculine. And it was talking about how feminine is not aggressive and masculine is aggressive. And feminine are supposed to be home oriented and masculine are supposed to be worldly, is what it said. And I do think that is very antiquated. And I think that because we have come so far as human beings, everybody is playing their role in the relationship. However, I'm glad you came to me last, because I have a off-topic question, because me and one of my friends got to arguing about this the other day about
Oh.
what a provider is. So I want you guys' opinion on this, and I hope he's watching. So the discussion was, if a man pays all the bills, if he chooses to pay all the bills, but has a female partner who is fully capable of sharing the bills, is he a provider in the female's mind, or is he providing only his own necessities? Because I was like, so if he tells me he wants to pay all the bills, but I'm telling him, hey, I'll take half of the responsibility, I don't feel like he's fully providing for me if I can provide for myself. I feel like he's providing at best his own necessities. If he's just paying, if I'm not here, he's still gonna have to pay the lights, the water, the gas. And he was like, well, if you're not there though, it won't be as much. So if he's choosing, then he's the provider. And I'm like, but I still can provide for myself. So I'm just like, how do y'all feel about that? Like, if you're in a relationship and you're both are financially stable, is the man considered the provider because he chooses to pay all the bills, not because he has to, because he chooses to?
Mm.
I feel like that's an
I'm
interesting
interested in hearing
question.
this.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. I don't think it's a matter of choice, like when it comes to bills, because if you don't pay the bills, then you homeless. So it's not so much like a choice. I feel like if the man is paying all of the bills and you have the luxury to be in that environment that he has provided for, whether it is something that he would have had to do with you being there or not, he's providing that environment for you. You do not have to come out of pocket for any bills. You're not, worrying about like having to pay XYZ. He has covered that for you financially. So that is one of the ways that a man is in fact a provider financially. I don't think that men are just providers financially, though. I feel like a lot of us just take that to be the only thing that they're supposed to be providing. But I feel like when you think of what a man is supposed to be in terms of a provider, he's also supposed to set the tone in the house. Like he should also be setting the tone in terms of like how we're going to keep our emotions and our mental health regulated. And if he's setting the tone in terms of like how things are going and how he regulates his own emotions and how he treats you and the space that he's holding for you when things are happening, like that too is also providing, because that safety, that mental, physical, spiritual, sexual safety, all of that is all a part of what a provider is supposed to be. But for your question directly, if he's paying the bills, then absolutely he's financially providing. And I think you should say thank you. I think somebody had said, thank you and kiss, kiss. Absolutely. Make sure that man is absolutely appreciated for what he's doing, because you don't have to be living there. If you have the money to have your own place and to pay your own bills, you could have your own apartment and still be in a relationship with this man. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you guys are living together and you're paying nothing and your money can go to something else, like, investments for you as a couple or whatever it is, that right there should say something. And there should be an appreciation for that, because it doesn't have to be provided.
Right. Is he allowed to hold that over your head if it's a choice?
I don't think so. I don't think he's allowed to hold it over your head. I don't know.
Manipulation.
I mean, I feel like it depends on the person's emotional maturity and a lot of times like just how they are in terms of, emotional intelligence and what they view their value as. And I feel like because a lot of men are pigeonholed into just being financial providers, a lot of them feel like once they have done that, like my job is done.
Yeah.
If I'm financially providing and I'm laying down the D, like that's it, like that's all I have to do. And it's like, it's not, sir, it really isn't. But because a lot of us have really pigeonholed men in that way, they don't think that there's more that is required. And sometimes it's a huge confusion as to why you need more from me as a man if I am laying the D down and if I am providing this very comfortable home for us to live in. And I feel like that right there is where, the communication comes in terms of like, what you view a provider to be. And let's have a conversation about what that looks like, because I need more than just this. Do I appreciate it? Absolutely. But would I like to have more? Yes. And I think that's where that comes in.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, get in there.
Because that just took me back to my last toxic relationship, because that's exactly what it was. This man was the complete financial provider. And I remember having arguments with him, trying to explain to him that money wasn't enough, that I'm capable of financially supporting myself, but I need these other things as a man from him. And he could not wrap his head around that. It was just like any other woman would be happy to be in your shoes because they don't have to worry about bills. They don't have to worry about paying nothing, right? And thank you for saying everything you just said, Bernadette, because I think that needs to be out there. Men need to be having these conversations. And I think I saw Relationship Gumbo's comment come up, the alpha male thing. That's a whole nother thing for a whole nother conversation on a whole nother day. But it is absolutely what you described when you talked about, this whole mindset of I'm paying the bills and I'm maybe making love to you, because he wasn't. He wasn't. So I just love what you said, and I needed, because it was just over here rolling in me like yes. So thank you.
Yes. And that's the thing that women are becoming more aware of and watching out for, because for so many years we've been sold the idea that a man has to be the financial provider, which we like that. But if that's all he's providing, I don't consider him a provider in the household. I consider him a financial provider, but I don't consider him a full provider of everything that Bernadette described, because women are becoming more in tune and more emotionally intelligent, emotionally mature, and we're requiring that from our partners. And if a man is using that as a bargaining chip or as a manipulation tool to say that I provide for you financially, and that's all I gotta do. And somebody else would be, lucky to be in your situation. Well, let them have it then, because I'm not selling you my soul. Just because you paying all the bills in here, I'm not finna dumb myself down. I'm not finna to, stifle my voice anymore. I could do everything that you're paying for me. I could pay for myself by myself, and then I could still be who I want to be by myself. So if I have to get in this relationship with you just to be financially provided for and then become somebody else that you want me to be, the price ain't high enough, sir.
Not for the loss of your own identity. No, not at all.
Right, and I think that kind of goes back to what you just said. So it's almost like you when you do things like, first of all, no one should have anything in a relationship held over their head. Nobody should be held hostage, in a scenario like that. For a man to say, well, I'm paying all the bills, so this is how it goes, or to consistently bring that up every time there's a disagreement, or for a woman to say, well, you're not paying all the bills, I'm contributing something to this thing, so, and hold it over a man's head. That's just a pathway to toxicity in a relationship. So, if you start to see those things happening, then it's time to exit. That's the checker flag, because that means that they're equating your value to what they're providing for you. And that's going to lead to nothing but toxicity down the line. So, you definitely want to escape those types of situations.
I just had the urge to say, and you're priceless. And so I'm just going to say it and lay it out there.
Right. Tracking like that, y'all. But that conversation had me boiling.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that goes into the next question that I have for you ladies. So how important is financial stability in choosing a partner? Like when you're dating and connecting and you're thinking about taking it to the next step of getting into a long-term relationship, how important is it that your partner is financially stable?
You going popcorn style?
I'm gonna start with you, Alta Gracie. I'm gonna start with you.
Okay, for me, I think I would want to clarify what financially stable actually is, right? Because it could be a bunch of things. So if we're talking about like income, no, that's not a factor for me. I'm not looking at whether you're making 100K versus 50K, because that's not going to change who you are fundamentally as a person.
Right. So I want to clarify, not really income, but they are stable in that they're taking care of themselves and they wouldn't be a burden on you.
Yeah, that is absolutely important to me. They definitely need to be making their own money, whatever that is, and they need to be able to manage their stuff on their own. Wow, because I do so. And I don't expect anyone else to come in and manage my things. And so I guess for me, it's sort of at least at my level. You need to be at least at my level of money management. I also like to look at behaviors. So like, how are you spending your money? Do you take saving seriously? Do you pay your bills on time, or are you late every month and now you have to pay stupid tax? Like, what are the choices that you're
stupid
making?
Tax.
Yeah, stupid tax. all that stuff. But what are the choices that you're making with your money? And are you able to make choices with your money that are in alignment with the life that you want to create? Because then that means we can come together and set goals and actually fund those goals. But if I see that you can't even achieve your own thing, then I don't think it'll work out. I mean, I've dated, like I said, my ex who made more money than he knew what to do with. And my partner and me, we pretty much make about the same amount of money. But we never fight about money, right? Like we've never fought about money, and that's a big thing too. I don't want someone to fight about money, and I also don't want someone who's going to try to control me with money in any way, shape, or form, even my own funds. And so, behavior is a big thing that I look at to summarize it. Yeah.
So if you met a man and you liked most everything about him except he did have bad money management skills, would you be open to teaching him that?
I'd be open to having a conversation. and to see, is he open with having that conversation and taking a look at himself? If he is open to that, which my partner is, right? My partner likes to play scratch offs in the lottery. We've had to have many conversations about that. So if you're open about having conversations, by all means, let's talk, because I know that you are the way you are because of what you were taught. And so you get to be taught something different if you're open and willing to learn something different. And that's what I would be looking for.
All right, awesome. What about you, Angela?
Yeah, so financial stability is a non-negotiable. I don't want to go, in my singleness being self-sufficient to then getting with you struggling. That doesn't add up. And so yeah, having stability in finances is super important. And as far as teaching, I wouldn't consider a long-term relationship with someone who, like Altagracia said, their money managed behaviors were poor, and they didn't want to learn. They didn't want to be taught or given tools to fix that. Because again, that how would that work? I have a daughter, and I there's no way I would put her in a situation from where we were living the life we were living to then, okay, well, now you can't do this, you can't have this because I got to help him. She gonna look at me like, wait a minute, we've been rocking and rolling for about 14 years. What's happening? And so as a protection to me and her, I would never even consider a long-term relationship with someone who wasn't at least open. But I would be, understanding, because I haven't always had it together. There are things I'm still working on. So I definitely will understand. I've been there too. But how can we make it work? And if we can't, that's it. We can be friends though, but that's not it.
Yes. What about you, Ursula? How important is financial stability in choosing a partner?
Oh, it's extremely important. I've been in one situation with a live-in boyfriend, and we both had horrible money management skills. And we argued over money very early on. But
Wow.
it goes back to how we both grew up. I wasn't poor, but there was not an abundance of money flowing in,
Right.
So I didn't have that money mindset, and obviously he didn't either. And it was very stressful. And just like Angela said, being self-sufficient, because I'm not living with anyone currently. So to step into a situation and going backwards, I'm always in the mindset of propelling forward. And that also means with money management skills. And I paid a shitload of stupid tax, as being said. Like I'll be transparent. I probably could have bought another condo with it. But now I know better. So I'm still working on that for sure. Getting a little older. So before credit scores and 401k, none of that, I didn't care about that back then. But approaching AARP age, it has a different ring to it.
Is you approaching AARP age, girl? You is not.
I am AARP.
I don't believe that.
Hey, people getting them things at like 44, 45 now, girl. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I'm not ready for that.
Let me tell you a story.
Listen, when I had the first mail come in, I said, "Who the hell who's playing a joke on me?" Then the application came in.
Wow.
Yeah. So it is very important, and I love what Altagracia said about having the conversation, to have that conversation. And as well, I need to be open to it as well. If my partner brings it to me, or it's moving a little shady, let's straighten it up now. I have to be open as well to having that conversation.
Yes, definitely.
I don't want to, we've all talked about the generational trauma. I don't want to continue that as well, because I've experienced that with my parents as well.
Right.
Yeah, I'm all about stopping everything toxic to the best of my ability, because now I know better.
Right.
So I have to do better, and I want to do better.
I love that. What about you, Kalisha? How important is financial stability And if you met a man who had bad money management skills, would you be open to teaching him?
Um, so I think ultimately the reason why my ex-husband and I got divorced was because of financial instability. We were not in a, like, I was 17, like I said, when we got married. I was in college. He was also in college, and we had trouble making ends meet. And it was a constant argument because he was a big spender and I was trying to figure it out because I was poor. I didn't know I was poor growing up, but as I got older, I realized that we were very poor. I got in trouble one time for losing $5, and I didn't even realize how poor we were. I was trying to go get some hamburgers, and I let it flew out the window and got them. That was a devastating time. I'm sad about that to this day. So, I'm from the deep country. I was probably school age when my grandmother got indoor plumbing. So that lets you know exactly how poor we were. But we were so much closer then. You know, family took care of each other. We had gardens, we had ponds. You know, it was not like it is now. When you're poor now, you know you're poor. But back then, I did not know we were poor. So my parents, my dad owned a trucking company, and he made tons of money. Where is it today? I have
Wow.
no idea. So my parents were very poor spenders, and they did not manage their money well. So me coming straight out of high school and getting married, I had no idea what I was doing. Credit score? What is that? What are you even talking about? It has taken me until now to really understand and build on myself and my financial stability, and it is so important to me now. I've never dated a guy based on his income, based on what he did for work. I've never really even asked those questions before. It's not until I met my current mate that, you know, we really talk about those things and talk about our financial future and what we want to do and investing in stocks and stuff. Because right now, I don't like stocks. I think stocks are terrible. I know people love stocks, but I'm like, that's a Ponzi scheme. I don't like it. He's like, it's not. It's like, I'm not giving these people my money. I'm not going to do it. But he's a stock investor. And I'm just like, financial stability is very important for us to break generational curses, for us to be able to build wealth. And at the age I am now, we've had to come out of pocket to bury so many people. Get life insurance, folks. It is
Ooh.
$dollars a month. Get some life insurance. I'm not paying for another funeral. I'm not even going to your funeral if you die and don't have life insurance. I'm just not coming. Like, let me be clear. But seriously, yes, financial stability is important. Listen to me. Go out there, make your money, save it to the best of your ability, live within your means. If you can't afford it, don't buy it. So I am very financial savvy, and I think that everybody should at least know, like somebody, like I think Love Tucker said, no, if you don't know your credit score, just cash me out, bring me my check. We are not finna complete this date if you don't know your credit score. You ain't even got to
Yes.
talk to me, but you better act like you know it.
And I say this all the time. You can make $50,000 a year and build wealth, and you can make $100,000 a year and be broke. It is not about how much money you make, it's about how much you keep.
Amen.
Right.
That's correct.
And so income does not equate to wealth. Income does not equate to being rich, because some people spend at the rate that they make money. So
Yeah.
they're just as broke as a person who's making $20 an hour.
I agree with that. It makes you wonder. And I've been this person, so I'm saying this with love and no judgment. When you see someone spending previously, just spend. And now it makes me wonder, because I've experienced that, trying to fill something that void, and you don't know what it is. Okay, so I'm gonna buy another car. Okay, well,
Mhm.
I got a car. Well, now I want to remodel my home. I can't tell you how many times I've replaced the floor in my condo, just constantly trying to fill the void. Meanwhile, I'm wasting money. And, that comes from a mindset I didn't realize back then. But I would definitely recognize that in my future partner, as well as keeping myself in check with that.
Hmm.
Right.
Keep that credit score up instead of plummeting.
Yes. What about you, Bernadette? How important is financial stability in choosing a partner? And would you be open to teaching a partner better responsibility and finances if they are not good in the area?
So financial stability is very important to me in relationships because I feel like if there isn't any financial stability, it doesn't matter how much love you have, there's going to be things that just break down in that relationship. And I think that, having the conversation about money is really important just to understand what a person's mindset is. My viewpoint on how I would respond to somebody not being very good with money and whether or not I would teach them is a little bit different from other people because I feel like a lot of us were not taught financial literacy.
Yeah.
And as adults, we
Mhm.
absolutely are responsible for, filling in the gaps of the things that we did not know growing up. I get that. But a lot of people also don't even know what they don't know. And so when you don't know what you don't know, sometimes you're just doing what you have seen done, what has
Hmm.
always worked for you, not realizing that there's a better way to do things or that there's resources out there that can help you or whatever it is. Some people just don't know that. And so yes, financial stability is important to me. However, if I met a man and he checked off all of the boxes and I realized that, he was not very financially literate, that would to me be something that, we would be working on together. Like, let me show you the things that I have learned, once I understood how important credit score was and all this kind of thing. And, if he's open to learning those things, that to me then is an indication about whether or not this relationship can go somewhere.
Mhm.
It's not that, he has to come in with the same level of knowledge I have, but his openness to learn what he does not know to
Mhm.
me is a better indication about whether or not this person is somebody that I can partner with. Now, I did also want to speak to what Ursula said in terms of, when you were younger, that spending was something that you were doing to fill the void. And I feel like a lot of what we don't understand about being poor is that is also a trauma. Like, people don't understand how traumatic it is to be poor and to not know like where money's coming from, and like to always have to feel like you have to be super conscious about every single penny. And what I realized that a lot of people do is that when they get to a place where they know that they can now they're now self-sufficient, that they can fend for themselves financially, they overcompensate by purchasing all the things because it's like, oh, I can do it now. I know that I have money. I know that, I'm financially stable. So I'm going to buy every single solitary thing because I can now do that. And it's a response to the trauma of not being able to have that kind of financial security growing up. But those are also conversations that we need to have. And so, like a lot of people, they're not going to know these things. I
Mhm.
mean, I feel like the common thread in most of what we were saying is that we have many times over the course of our lives accepted what has been familiar in our relationships and not necessarily what we deserve. And being familiar with things a lot of times has been like toxic situations. It has been like, relationships with people that were less than ideal, but it was always familiar. It's what we saw growing up. It's what we saw our mom and them do. It's what, we had before. And we may have even yearned for more. We may
Mhm.
have wanted something completely different, but not understanding how to get there and what do I need to do in myself in order to achieve this. And like, what does it even look like a lot of times will keep you in the same kind of familiar situations because not only do you understand what the outcome is going to be, you're familiar with it, so you can rock with it, the ins and outs of it. It may not be ideal, but you can hang with it. It's predictable. There's not going to be any surprises happening here, and a lot of us feel very comfortable doing that even though we yearn for more. So I just wanted to add that in because I just see like, there's a lot of common threads of what we're saying, and I want to add that. But, honestly, as someone who likes to teach, I don't have a problem with teaching someone something that I know that they don't know. Like, it's just what I do naturally. And
Mhm.
it's not a deal breaker for me that somebody doesn't understand something financially. The deal breaker would be that, they don't want to learn about something new once it's brought to their attention.
Yes, that's my big deal. If you're open minded, that's such an attractive quality to me in a man, and humility, and not looking at it as a hit to his masculinity. If I know something and I can share knowledge and information with him, that he doesn't feel, less than, because you're not less than just because you don't know something.
Right. And I think a lot of times men may feel, I think you hit it on the nail on the head just now, Erica. I think sometimes men may feel emasculated when it comes to financial issues. If they feel like they don't know something, or even if they are lacking in it, I think it makes them feel a little bit less than in certain situations. So I think it's always good to have those types of conversations with the man without trying to emasculate him. Like, hey, maybe we could try it this way. I just said, I might be a little bit better, with finances. I've done this a little bit longer. I wouldn't, crap all over him because he might make less than you, or he may not manage his money as well. So I think those are important conversations for men to have with women, and for women to reach out to men and try to make them understand that, hey, I'm not going to emasculate you, but this is a conversation that needs to be had.
Right. All right. So I think we're on our final question, Gator, if you want to go ahead with it.
Oh yeah. So then this is probably the big one here. Describe your idea of what safety and security feels like in a romantic relationship. And on this one, I'm going to start with Angela. What is your idea of what safety and security feels like in a relationship?
Keep it real short and sweet. Okay. Don't have me out here looking crazy. That's really
Mhm.
big for me. I love the protection piece. Yeah, of course, if something pop off, I need you to be ready. But that, to me, when I hear that, that's what I think of. I've been in situations where, I'm all in love and thinking everything is all good, and we besties. He tell me everything, like we're cool, and he got two babies by two different women, and everybody know but me. Those
Mm,
kind of things are like a no go. So it's super important. I always say, I don't care what it is. Come to me, talk to me, even if you feel like
mhm.
I'm gonna leave. I might,
Right.
but talk to me. Give me. Don't take away my choice. That's really big for me. Do
Ooh.
not
Right.
take away my choice. Talk to me and tell me and give me the opportunity to make the decision if I can deal or if I can't. But don't be having me out here looking crazy. Respect me and love me enough to tell me the things that I really need to know.
Hmm.
Because
I
the damage
love it.
that's done is sometimes it's just irreparable if it's not done in a
Yeah.
right way. If you didn't go to her, something's found out, she got to go find it. I don't condone going to look for stuff, but I'm just saying if it comes up in those ways, the damage a lot of times is irreparable. Whereas if you come to me and you give me the opportunity to know there's an issue or something is going on, I may be able to deal. It may take some time, but I may be able to deal.
Right, right, right. So I gotta ask Bernadette, what is your idea of what safety and security is in a relationship?
Um, I look at a 360 view when it comes to safety and security, where it's not just physical. To me, it's mental, it's spiritual, financial, and sexual. I feel like once those areas are very clearly defined and we have understood because we've had conversations about what that means, I feel like that's when I'm able to feel safe. When I know that the person that I'm with is emotionally available, it helps me to feel safe. When this person talks to me and communicates with me and uses their words when something is wrong, I feel safe. When things are not being held over my head, things are not being thrown in my face, like the things that I tell you about my past are not being weaponized, I feel safe. Whenever I feel like I can come to you and I can share what's going on, and you're able to hold space for me so that I can like work through this thing, and I know that I have a partner in what's happening in my life and a witness to what's going on, I feel safe. So those are the things that I think about when I think about safety. I just don't look at it as being something that is a physical presence, but it has to be a 360 holistic view for me.
Gotcha.
Love it.
Definitely. Yeah, I definitely love it. Alzagracia, how do you feel about that? What's your idea of safety and security in a relationship?
To me, partnership is a big thing. I need to know that you're going to have my back.
Right.
Can you hear me okay?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I need to know that you're going to have my back. And what that looks like is going to be different at different times. But I need to know that you're committed and in alignment with me, that we're in alignment, and that when things need to change, that you're going to communicate, and that we're maneuvering together. And I love what, Bernadette said and what Angela said, because I agree with both of them on all of those things. But if I had to sum it up, it's going to be that you're rocking with me. We're moving together. We're moving in sync. And when we're not on the same page for whatever reason, that we're going to communicate and get back on the same page and keep going. And knowing that I have someone who is willing to do that, a man who's willing to look at himself makes me feel safe. That's a big one.
Yeah.
A man who is just comfortable changing gender roles, right? Makes me feel safe, because I don't know, it's just really important to me. Like I'll just give you a quick little story. Just about a week or two ago, I went to a conference, came back super high vibe, like ready for all these things. And then me and my partner just had like this huge disagreement. I triggered him. He reacted, so on and so forth. We talked it out. We balanced things back to normal and moved on with our lives. But then I started reading this book called The Big Leap. And so I'm listening to the book, and he gets to the point where he's talking about the upper limit, which is the point where your body can't handle but so much success and so much excitement before it triggers and does something that causes self-sabotage, right? And it could be any little thing. And so I'm like, oh, that's what happened, right? Like I was so high, so different from that conference that I wasn't even aware of his needs in that moment. And I triggered him, and he wasn't even aware that he was reacting. And so he reacted, and it turned into something it probably would have never turned to. And so I'm like, should I tell him? Should I not? And I called his ass. And I'm like, hey, babe. And he's like, I'm about to tell you something. I don't want you to be offended, because I'm not saying it's your fault or that it's my fault. But what I want to share with you is a new piece of information that I think is going to help us both. Right. And then I feel like I hit an upper limit. And when you asked me to leave and I said no, I didn't mean it in the way that you took it, but you took it that way because you too were uncomfortable with me vibing at this high level. And so I'm going to continue to be vibing at this high level. And I expect that to continue to get higher and higher. And I don't want us to fall apart because you're not able to see that and start vibing up with me. And so we got off the phone, and I didn't say nothing about it. 2 days later, he's like, after our conversation, I realized how I'm self-sabotaging myself in more ways beyond our relationship. And I never really thought about it that way, but maybe I'm just reacting because of like just that realization that he had, and I almost didn't tell him, and that comfortability and tell him that, and his humility, knowing that he can take it and it be uncomfortable with it and know that it's coming from a place of love. That's safety.
Yeah.
That's safety.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that, because I heard this gentleman speaking about protection and how you protect your woman. And he was making the statement that a lot of times men will focus so much on the protection from dangers on the outside that they forget to protect their woman from the danger of themselves. Because if you're the closest thing to that woman, you can hurt her more than anybody else in the world can. And so sometimes men forget that, just their natural inclinations or things that they do from day to day can also hurt the woman that they're with. And so you have to be conscious in protecting her from any hurt that you can cause her as well. And so I'm glad you said that, Altagracia, because a lot of times, that element of protection is what's missing in men's psyche. And sometimes they just need to hear that.
Definitely, definitely. So, Ursula, what is your idea of safety and security in a relationship?
Good question, Gator. When a man comes to me with his high level of emotional intelligence, where we can share back and forth with each other, and I love what all the ladies have said, and I know I'm gonna love what Kalisha's about to say. I swear I could cut and paste everything that these ladies have said because I embody that. I don't want to be weaponized, but that makes me feel safe that I can still be free and open, and that he is going to accept me for how I am because I know now how I'm navigating forward. I'm going to be my true, authentic self. I'm not going to wear a mask anymore, and I will want him to do the same thing as well. So, and I love what Bernadette said. It's not always the physical part, the emotional part for me and the spiritual part. That's what gets me, and I will feel so safe. And you can get anything from me because I know we're going to be together like those synchronized swimmers. We getting it in together. It's like I'm doing my synchronized and he's up here backstroking. We're not having any of that. We're gonna move and navigate together. We're gonna sink together. We're gonna go down, up. We're gonna have our peaks and valleys. But that's what's gonna make me feel extremely safe. And again, I'm coming to the table with coming with it. I'm feeling very confident about it. So he is too. We're gonna feel safe together.
I
I
like
don't
what you
want to
said,
flip
that
any more tables
synchrony.
over. You all know my past story.
Right.
You heard some more.
That's
I
my
like what you
wisdom.
said though. That synchrony, knowing that you're, in harmony with somebody can't help but make you feel safe because you know that they're not getting out of line of what you're expecting. You know what to expect, so you don't have to worry. You don't have to be on pins and needles all the time worrying about what they're gonna do or what's gonna happen, or are they out in the street doing something they don't have no business doing? Are they lying to me about where they're going? Or the situations, the circumstances behind what they're doing. You don't have to worry about that because you're in synchrony with that person. So yeah, I
And
get
one more
exactly what
thing.
you're saying.
I'm sorry, excuse me, one more thing. And I forgot which sister said it about the communication. It
Mm.
has to be so open. As if he's open with his communication and not wearing his mask, that is so huge for me. I love it. Yeah. That that will make us go far.
Oh yeah. Now I had to save it for last. Kalisha, how do you feel about this? Now, what's your
Oh,
idea of
what a
safety
deal.
and security?
Why? Well, they say the best for last, so I'm gonna take it as a compliment. No offense to anybody, but listen, Angela, girl, I almost shouted. Don't have me out here looking like no fool. I do not want to be made a fool of, and that is so important. I don't want the street to tell me what you could have told me. If somebody call
Mm.
me and tell me that you're doing something and I don't know about it before they tell me, it's irreparable. I'm so there. Like, I cannot trust you. Like, when you break that trust, it is so hard to get it back. So, I mean,
Mm.
ultimately, this is something that my guy and I would talk about all the time. Just being able to be in one another's presence and just be vibing on those high levels of emotion, to just be eternally relaxed with a person, like just open, and your guards are down, and you're able to be your authentic self and talk about your hurts, talk about your fears, your longings. I mean, it is just I can honestly say that I have never felt more connected to a human being than I am with my current partner. Like
Mm.
I feel so safe with his person. Like I'm able to let my guard down and we can communicate. And if he says something that I feel is defensive because it's him, I don't take it defensively. And we're able to talk about it and able to work through it. So, I am just truly blessed in this space that I am in now. And I want anybody out there who, because when I got divorced, I was like, F love, I'm not doing that no more. Don't talk to me, leave me alone, get back. But he came into my life just unexpectedly, and it has been truly a blessing to feel and to be able to vibe on those high levels of energy because I was done. I was done for it. So it's real. It's real. People love it's real. It's out there. Don't give up on it. Do not give up on it because you can truly find it and it could be something that you've never experienced before. And you'd be like August has seen it with Jada. Like I can die now. Like I know what it's like to be loved. Seriously though, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank y'all so much for having me.
Oh man, this was so awesome. I so much appreciate you ladies. You brought it like I knew you were gonna bring it. You were all awesome. And I don't want this to be the last time that y'all are here in the Dope Discussion studio because your faces are beautiful, your hearts are beautiful, and you give so much value to the platform. So I definitely want to have you all back. And I want to go around and have everybody introduce themselves again. We'll tell people where they can follow y'all, where they can connect with y'all before we get out of here. So let me go ahead and get y'all set up. We're going to start out with Miss Altagracia. Go ahead and tell everybody how they can connect with you.
So, hi everyone. I'm all in the middle now. I'm like, oh.
Yes.
You can find me on Instagram at R2E coach, and that's primarily where I'm active at. You can DM me, comment, follow. I love to talk, and I'm super passionate about just being present and helping people along their journey and calling out the facts and things people don't like to talk about, because I think that's where the difference gets to happen. So this was amazing. I had such a good time with all of the ladies on the panel, and I am looking forward to coming back. So thank you.
Thank you for accepting the invitation again. And we're going to go to Miss Ursula B. Tell the people where they connect with you.
All right, everyone. You can connect with me as you see right there at Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together. All on social media under the same name. And I also have a podcast under the same name, Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together, as well as a co-host of Talking Dope Shit.
Yes.
Oh, one more. Because our sister Tashura is not here in the live, she's also Tashura Talks. And you can find her on Instagram under the same name, as well as her website. Tashara, put it in the comment section because you're not here right now, but put it in the comment section and we'll talk about your platform too, or mention it.
Let me see. I can pull it up here.
Do that. There we go. At Tashara Talks, as well as her website. That's what we need as well.
Yeah, tell her to put it in the comments for us, and I can pull it up on the screen.
That would be great. But another thing, just want to let all the ladies know, when we were backstage, and I was like, oh, these sisters are pretty. Like physically, y'all are really pretty women. But the more you all are talking, you're just radiating so much more beauty from within. And I'm so honored to be on this panel. So I respect everyone even more. Just y'all came with it, but I really see the beauty inside of every single one of you, and there's going to be more of us. We have these kind of conversations. A lot of sisters. It's okay to know to be vulnerable to our men, and more importantly to ourselves. And I saw so much vulnerability here, and even with our king on the panel, Gator. Appreciate all of you all.
Thank you, ma'am. It's definitely going to be some more collaborations coming out of this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Kalisha, where can everybody connect with you and follow you?
I want to first thank you so much, and I want to say I want to shout out Derek, Relationship Gumbo, and shout out all the guys on here because of them I was able to connect with you, Erica. So thank you for being here. Thank you to them for connecting me with such amazing people. I can attest to communication and transparency. My mate and I, we have a company called Hello Black Man. I'm currently wearing our earrings. Please follow us at Hello Black Man on all social media platforms. You can go to our website, helloblackman.com, and what it is a journal line that inhibits communication. It's a guided journal, so it asks questions about your life that people wouldn't normally ask you. We are currently at 10 journals. We have couple, woman, man, teen, child, first responder, you name it, we have it, and we have more coming down the pipelines. Again, my name is Kalisha Patrice. You can follow me at Kalisha Patrice, but I also want you to definitely follow our podcast and our shows. Every platform, Hello Black Man, helloblackman.com. Please go follow us and continue to support this podcast. It is awesome. I had a dope discussion with these amazing women.
Thank you, Kalisha, and definitely those journals. My 14-year-old son has his journal, Hello Teen. He keeps it right next to his bed, and he's actually been writing in it. He's been doing better than me, so he's been keeping me accountable because I have mine by my bedside too. But he's been doing better with his than I am. So those journals are dope, love. They really are, and they really make you think introspectively. So, yes, shout out to Kalisha for those. So, Miss Angela Sheree.
Hey, again, thank you so much for having me. This has been amazing. You can find me on Instagram at the Ever Evolving Podcast, as well as Facebook. You can also listen to seasons 1 through 4 on all streaming platforms. Season 5 is currently live. So we go live every Tuesday and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time over on YouTube. But again, all of the links are on Instagram.
I love it. Miss Angela is doing her thing, and girl, you did your thing tonight. I mean, I'm so glad you was here. Like when we got to talk last time, we
Mhm.
talked, but we didn't get to
We
talk
didn't
on
stop.
this
Yeah,
level. Yes, so we definitely got to have you back.
for sure.
All right, Miss Bernadette Jackson, tell the people
Hi.
where to find you.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank you for having me on. My name is Bernadette again, and I am a relationship engagement strategist. So I work with fatherless daughters to teach them how to be their most authentic self by working through their father pain so that they can start to show up in business and relationships as who they are. I also am the host of the Bernadette Jackson podcast, where we are redefining how the world views women with daddy issues. You can find me on all streaming platforms. I think we're on like Apple, Spotify, Google, and a few of the other ones as well. And I just want to just say, like, this conversation was really amazing. I loved connecting with you women, and I truly, truly hope that we can do this again. This was really great.
Thank you so much. I thank you all for accepting the invitation. And before we get out of here, I just want to invite everybody to join us next Saturday, October 30th on Instagram Live. We are doing our third Talking Dope shift after dark with me and Tashira and Miss Ursula B. And we're going to be talking about operating in our feminine energy, what it looks like, what it's not, and how does the environment that we live in, how does that influence us being able to operate in our feminine energy. So that's going to be next Saturday. Hope y'all can tune in and join in the conversation with us. So, Gator, do you have anything to close us out with?
Look, all I got to say is that it's been again a dope show. I love the fact that all the ladies came in and brought it, and they actually had some real things to contribute, some real things that people need to be paying attention to. So make sure that y'all are sharing this show out no matter when you're viewing it. Share it with a friend, share it with your family, share it with your mom and them, share it with your cousin and them. Let everybody know that, there's some good stuff going on around here. So I thank all the ladies for coming on here. Y'all make sure y'all go and endorse all of their platforms. And I can't wait to do this again.
And I appreciate everybody in our village, everybody that tuned in, that joined in the conversation in the comments. We love y'all so much. And I look forward to seeing y'all on all of the different platforms. Every time we're on Real Shop Talk, we're on Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together, or we're on the other ladies shows. We want y'all, everybody go follow everybody. Does everybody here have a YouTube channel? Who had, yeah, Angela, you have a YouTube. Well, whenever y'all get y'all YouTubes and whenever y'all do your lives, because I know Altagracia goes live on Instagram. So please go follow everybody so we can show support and we can show up in droves, because we are building a village of people who support each other. So thank y'all again for joining us, and we are out.
Peace out.